Hi, beautiful people. Good morning. It's Tuesday. I hope that you had a good President's Day, a good weekend, and all that good stuff. We're going to spend some time with these Epstein survivors. I have been asked almost every live stream to talk about it, and it's been heavy. It's been heavy. So I will spend some time on it. It can be dark, fair warning. Fair warning. But it's what's happening, so we'll get through it, right? Everything I share is for educational for use purposes, just so we can talk about it. Hi, beautiful people. Oh shoot! What is wrong with my? Sorry, I'm already having some difficulties. All right, I want to get into it. I will communicate with you guys via the You guys, hey, good morning, Catherine. How are you? Congratulations on 4 years, Lewis. That's right. I'm getting there. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hi, American Patriot for life. So I have to treat this commentary delicately. We'll get through it. Just because a person is mentioned in the Epstein files does not necessarily make them guilty. I'm going to hold my comments. I'm going to hold my thoughts on this one because there's so much to go through. You guys, when I tell you I spend all day reading these files, going through the Jmail, and I just need a break. I need a break. It's a lot to go through. I'm fine, Catherine. Thank you. I'm fine. I feel a little heavy today because of my commentary on some of some comments and some of you guys' feedback and stuff like that. But and if it's dark, I will report on what's dark. And when there's something that's cheerful, I will report on that too. Let me get into the commentary. I think, hang on, you guys. I have it here somewhere. And again, it's sensitive. It just is. Gotcha. You're looking extra pretty today. Oh, thank you, Louise. You're so sweet. I mean, kind. Thank you for that. All right, you guys, let me get into this conference that happened a few days ago, but I have it here for you.
I also want to thank Lauren and everyone at World Without Exploitation who are working so tirelessly to create change and end human trafficking and sexual exploitation. And I want to thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle who are here with us today: Nancy Mace, Sydney Kamlager-Dove, Becca Ballant, Grace Meng, who am I missing?
Adelita.
Melanie Stansberry, Adelita Grijalva, who got us to 218 on the discharge. And all the others that I know are in spirit with us here. I'm so proud to be on the executive board of the Democratic Women's Caucus, which is hosting this press conference today and has been at the center of the push for justice. Our amazing chairwoman, Teresa Ledger Fernandez, is at a Rules Committee meeting, so she's unable to be with us in person, but she is certainly here in spirit. Yesterday, I spent several hours at the Department of Justice looking through the unredacted files and reading the absolutely horrific and depraved messages that went back and forth between rich and powerful people in every sphere of influence. These people are at the top of governments, academic institutions, billionaires at giant corporations, cabinet secretaries, and the callous depravity of their messages showed that they absolutely believed that they were above the law, above morals, absolutely immune to any societal norms. They joked in these emails about pedophiles, about horrific sexual acts with young girls, about creating spaces, entire islands even, where they could do anything they wanted and get away with it because of their wealth, their power, and their connections. This was a massive global sex trafficking ring with thousands of victims that we know of and thousands more that we probably don't. So when DOJ says that there is nothing to investigate, we, the American people, must rise up. We must allow the courage and the determination of the survivors who have spoken out at great risk to themselves to push us to never give up until every single one of these predators and pedophiles and predator protectors is brought to justice. It is the voices of the survivors ringing through in the darkness of all of this horror that has gotten us this far. And in speaking to so many of them myself, I know that this effort is not just for them. They're not doing this just for them. They're doing it for their girls, for their children, for other people who have been affected, to all the survivors of sexual assault everywhere across the world who are watching to see if we can get accountability right here in the United States of America. Many rich and powerful people thought over the decades that they got away with this. They definitely did. You can see it in the emails. But as Lauren said to me the other day, the earth is shaking because every single one of them now is becoming known. And around the world, princes, ambassadors, even prime ministers are being brought down for their participation in this global sex trafficking ring. And here in America, that needs to happen too. And until it does, we are here to say, we will not stop. To every survivor who has fought so hard, who has shared painful details, who has been re-traumatized by the continued disrespect, dismissal, and exposure of their own personal details, we won't stop until you have justice and accountability. I'm going straight from here to the Judiciary Committee as our Representative Kamlager Dove, Representative Ballant, where we will have Attorney General Bondi before us. I intend to get real answers on why the DOJ is not pursuing further action and to get survivors the attention and the answers that they deserve. This is just the beginning of our journey for justice, led by very powerful women who are using their voices and their power to, yes, shake the earth of its depravity and to demand accountability. So thank you for all of it, for inspiring us day after day, year after year, and never backing down. We love you, we appreciate you, and we've got you. It's now my honor to pass it over to Representative Sydney Kamlager Dove, my colleague on the Judiciary Committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Congresswoman Jayapal. I also want to recognize Congressman James Walkinshaw and Congressman Jamie Raskin, who've also joined us for this press conference. My name is Congresswoman Sydney Kamlager Dove. I represent Los Angeles, and I want to thank the Democratic Women's Caucus for hosting this press conference and for always centering survivors when talking about the Epstein files. You know, the entire weight of Donald Trump's government is being used against the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators' abuse. The fact that these survivors have not only come forward, but continue to speak out and relive the worst day of their lives every single day is courage. And it's a kind of courage this administration does not have. 80% of sexual assaults go unreported because time and time again, our broken justice system protects abusers instead of survivors. When the president and the attorney general repeatedly shield pedophiles, rapists, traffickers from accountability, they send a chilling message to survivors everywhere and discourage others from coming forward. Let me be clear. We need this administration to care about child sexual assault instead of protecting pedophiles and predators. At 10 a.m., Attorney General Pam Bondi will be testifying in House Judiciary Committee. And we are all going to get in her face and grill her about the reckless and sloppy release of these files. One survivor found her name, her birthday, her address, and phone number, and workplace, all exposed in the files. That puts her at serious risk, and it is a chilling effect for every other survivor. Now it is my honor and privilege to turn it over to a brave and courageous woman, Teresa Helm.
Hi, good morning. Here we are again. And for what it's worth, we're not going anywhere. And
Amen.
while it might seem that we're in the middle of the road of this, actually, in many ways, this is just beginning. I stand here in support for all of these women here beside me, all of the women across this nation, for my own children, for myself, for every one of you out there in this audience looking at us right now, this is Survivor. This nation is full of survivors. We're going to stand and we're going to fight, and we're not going to stop because that's the right thing to do. We stand here also with the support, and we pray that there's nonpartisan support of Virginia's law that has just been introduced. This is one of the most important monumental steps for survivors, and the world is still watching. No one's turning away from this. It affects every single person here. It affects every single person in this administration. They have wives, daughters, grandchildren. Every single person. This is not an issue that's going away. And we're not going to stop. And I feel that this is a real, today and beyond, a real demonstration of integrity. And as my dad, who was a very, very smart man, used to say to me, Dr. James Helm, the proof is in the pudding. So we're going to find out. Thank you.
First, I want to recognize Representative Nancy Mays standing with us today because, as we have always said, this is a nonpartisan issue. What we know in the sexual violence arena is that there are more sexual abuse, sexual assault, and trafficking victims in the country, in the world, than any other tragedy. And consistently, those victims and survivors are told one of two things: shut up or move on. And as I understand it, when we spent time in Republican Judiciary Committee members' offices, they were very compassionate, passionate, caring about this issue. They support us. They want transparency. They want justice. And what we've heard is that they've been told to shut up today and not do the hard thing of asking questions about the egregious job done by the Department of Justice and the drop of files. And we've heard that the American people have been told to move on. So I'd like to present three options to Republican House Judiciary Committee members. They can either do the bravest thing they have ever done in their career, and they can ask the hard questions. They can do a second thing, which is a really hard thing to do: refuse to be complicit and resign. Just say, I am making a statement and I'm going to resign from being part of this administration. And they can do a third thing. They can yield 1 minute of their time to Thomas Massie, who happens to be a real bulldog in this issue, and let him speak for them. That way they are able to hold their position of leadership, but make a stand showing their constituents who are all victims and survivors too.
That's right.
That they believe in us. So today my question is, those on the Judiciary Committee, the Republicans, are you going to have courage or are you going to be complicit? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Laura Bloom McGee. I am a survivor who stands before you to not ask you for pity, but demanding justice. Speaking my truth was born of courage. I stand here for every little boy and girl that is afraid to speak up after the unthinkable. That courage should never cost us our safety, our privacy, or our right to heal. Our current system does the opposite. The people who have harmed us, they are hidden, while survivors have been exposed. Abusers' names and contact information is redacted, while our faces and stories are left on full display. This is not protection. This is betrayal. It hands back power back to the abuser and further strips survivors of our dignity. Even worse, leads that could uncover broader wrongdoing are being ignored. Documents that point to co-conspirators are still unexamined. Truth, integrity, and the pursuit of justice should be non-negotiable, and we will no longer negotiate with people or institutions that fail us. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Danny Bensky, and I am an Epstein Maxwell survivor from 2004 to 2005. The last time I was in DC, I asked everyone to close their eyes and think of a teenager that was close to you. I asked you to make it personal. Thinking of your child, your sibling, your mother, or you even at an early age. I asked you to visualize that teenager at the door of Jeffrey Epstein's mansion, and I asked you if you would let them enter. Well, now I want you to visualize something else. I want you to think of that same 14 to 18-year-old. I want you to imagine that they've since grown up, and one day you find their name and all of their identifying information in the Epstein files alongside intimate, horrific details about their lives, sexual abuse, and trafficking. You look further, and maybe you even find a nude picture. You try to understand who could be responsible for these crimes, or try to find who's responsible for the crimes themselves, only to find that the perpetrators' names have all been redacted. As you read on and take in all the heinous acts, you begin to see how the system repeatedly failed. Realizing that it was hard enough to endure the abuse, you begin to understand the endless re-traumatization. This time, it isn't a monster pedophile who is doing the exploiting, but our very own government. I dare to say that everyone knows a survivor of assault or abuse. My ask is that you keep this personal. We are not here as political figures. We are only human. Our only agenda is accountability. We owe it to our former selves. We owe it to the next generation. And we also owe it to those of the past. We need to believe women who bravely stepped forward like Maria Farmer did in 1996. We need to pass Virginia's law to eliminate the statute of limitations. We need survivors to be taken seriously. There should never be a time limit on justice. And the DOJ needs to do its job. Give us the rest of the files and start the investigations on the things that are in the files right now. During my time with Jeffrey, I was always amazed that he could make you feel so special, like you were the only one in the room, and then treat you like an absolute piece of trash and throw you away. We will not be silenced and thrown away this time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Liz Stein. I met Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein in 1994 when I was a senior in college. For us, this is not about politics. This is about people in power and vulnerable girls and young women. A partial release of these files by the DOJ, riddled with improper redactions that expose the vulnerable and shield the powerful from accountability, is not justice. It is injustice. As victims of this crime and citizens of this country, we will not stand for it, and neither should you. This is no longer about us. This is about survivors of sexual abuse everywhere.
That's right.
They are watching us. And if you think that this does not affect you, 1 in 4 women in our country have been touched by this issue. It affects all of us. We are being watched not only as survivors, but as advocates for those who cannot use their own voice to speak up. We as a nation have an opportunity to send a strong message that we will not protect people who victimize children, that we will stand up for what is right, despite what our politics are, that we will cross the aisle, and that we will stand behind survivors for justice. We keep hearing our press secretary and our Department of Justice and other government officials saying they're moving on from this. I wish that we could. I met Epstein and Maxwell when I was 21 years old. I'm nearly 53 now. We cannot move on as survivors of this crime and as citizens of this nation without changing this narrative. So I ask you all to stand behind us and demand accountability for our government, because we certainly are going to.
Amen.
Hello, everyone, and good morning. We are here today asking for basic safety, dignity, respect for survivors and Americans. In recent releases, survivors' names were not properly redacted. The failure has put people in danger. Personal information has been exposed, information that can lead to harassment, threats, and retaliation. Some of those impacted are Jane Does who have never broken their silence, who have never chose to be public, and who deserve protection, not exposure. We are still asking a question the public deserves answered. How is the Department of Justice able to carefully redact the names of powerful men, yet fail to protect survivors? We stand here today, united and strong, and we are asking for something simple. Treat us like human beings. We have families, we have lives. We did not cause these crimes, and we should not be the ones paying for the price again. And if more documents are released, we are demanding that the DOJ take the time to do this the right way, fully and respectfully redact survivors' identities and any identity details connected to them. We also need to address the allegations contained in these materials. Every credible allegation must be taken seriously and investigated thoroughly, no matter who the person is, how wealthy they are, or how connected they are. We understand that these are allegations and due process matters, but survivors are human beings who shared something horrific. They deserve to be heard, and they deserve a real investigation, not dismissal, delay, or silence. So everyone watching, stand with survivors, demand accountability, demand transparency, demand investigations that do not protect the powerful while exposing the vulnerable. And those who are involved, those who know what happened, those who enabled it, those who stayed silent, do the right thing, answer the questions, cooperate, because the survivors are done carrying the burden alone. Moving forward, we, and when I say we, I mean the whole world, expect true transparency and justice for those who have not yet received it. I want to emphasize that after Congress reviewed the unredacted files yesterday and discovered that more powerful individuals were involved, I'm left wondering, why haven't we started an investigation this yet? Other countries have taken action. So why is the United States lagging behind, especially in a nation that prides itself on justice? This is what we believe in. This is what we demand. So the real question here is, when will the Department of Justice start investigation, not only the allegations, but to the powerful men that are running free? Thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. We are here today as survivors and as the families of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We are here as the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. My name is Sky Roberts, and I am the brother of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Pam, I have a clear and simple message for you. The way this administration and you specifically have handled survivors has been nothing short of a failure. I have a message from Annie Farmer. She's not here today, but I love her to death. Believe that. And she said, Pam, do your job. Do your job, Pam. And I feel that. There are serious questions that demand answers. Why are the perpetrators' names being redacted while survivors' names are left unredacted? We are done with excuses. We are done with delays. No more lies. No more deflection. We want answers and we want accountability. Virginia was not a headline. She was a daughter, a sister, a mother, and a human being. She carried what was done to her for years and still chose to fight, not just for herself, but for others who were afraid or silenced. And we need to say this plainly. The handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case has been mismanaged again and again across administrations, across agencies, and across years. That failure is not abstract. It has caused real, lasting damage to survivors, and that is not up for debate. We are here to see whether our representatives will stand with survivors, not with excuses, not with delay, not with political convenience. We are here to see whether you will ask the hard questions that have been avoided for far too long. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amanda.
To Ms. Bondi, we are deeply disappointed by the way you and your leadership in this department have treated survivors. And today, while you're being questioned, we ask you to look in the eyes of every single one of us and remember Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who paid the ultimate sacrifice for the trauma that she had endured. We ask you to remember the lives that we have lost during this process. Accountability means real answers, not evasion. It means transparency, not more hiding. And we ask Congress that if Pam Bondi has been found where you have misled or gave false testimony, you must be held to the same standard as everyone else. No title, no power, no connections should change that. And to the American people, take heed. Be mindful of any government or any powerful people who try to tell us that what we lived through is not real, that what happened to us didn't happen, who ask us to doubt what our ears can hear and what our eyes can plainly see. That is how abuse is protected, and that is how it thrives. We are here because survivors have had their lives defined by what powerful people did to them behind closed doors, while institutions have continuously looked away. Today, Congress has a chance to prove that this country is still not looking away. We are not here for theater, and we are not here for talking points. We are here for truth. We are here for justice. We are here for accountability for Virginia and every survivor.
Hi, my name is Charlene Rochard, and last year I stood here as a survivor demanding the release of the Epstein files. Today, I stand here again as a citizen demanding accountability now that Congress is questioning Pam Bondi of the Department of Justice about the handling of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Let me be clear. Survivors are furious. We watched the Justice Department botch redactions so badly that victims' images were exposed while predators' identities were kept hidden and protected. That does not feel like an accident or a clerical error. It feels like betrayal. The people who were supposed to protect us instead shielded abusers and re-traumatized survivors. And we're expected to accept that as standard procedure? We do not. Pam Bondi claimed she was defending the independence and integrity of the Justice Department. But survivors have every right to ask, where was all that integrity when survivors were exposed? Where was that independence when victims were silenced? Where was all that commitment to justice when the truth was buried to protect reputations? These are not partisan attacks. These are demands for basic human morality and accountability. When officials are accused of weaponizing the Justice Department, we know exactly what that means because we've lived through the consequences. This inquiry confirms what survivors have known for decades. The Justice Department has been influenced and manipulated in ways that harmed us. We are told to wait for transparency, to trust a system that already failed us, to accept redactions that protect the powerful and expose the powerless. But our trauma wasn't delayed. Our pain was not postponed. And our trust has been shattered. So I will say what many survivors feel. Pam Bondi and the Justice Department failed us repeatedly across administrations, across political lines, across decades, and the people who had the authority to intervene chose silence, secrecy, and self-preservation and called it justice. I'm here to make sure no one in the Justice Department, no matter their title, rewrites history or escapes accountability. And so today, I'm asking survivors, allies, lawmakers, and citizens to refuse silence, demand oversight, demand transparency, demand a Justice Department that protects the vulnerable instead of the powerful. Stand with us, speak with us, and do not look away. Accountability will not come unless we insist on it together. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please welcome Representative Nancy Mace.
Hold on one second. I just want to let members of the media know that because the judiciary hearing is starting soon, some of the survivors are going to go take their seat right now. But we are going to continue this press conference because we have a few more important statements to make. And Representative
We're going to go to Representative Nancy Mace.
All right, thank you. Good morning. For thousands of years, women have been considered second-class citizens. Back to the book of Genesis, chapter 24, when Dinah was raped by a prince, they tried to negotiate a deal to sweep it under the rug until her brothers took up swords. And today, the Epstein survivors who are here, advocating on their behalf, want America and the world to know they are no longer second-class citizens. And women in this country should never be treated like second-class citizens. And their stories are truth. Their stories are real. They're vulnerable. It is traumatic, and it is lifelong trauma for each and every one of them. I have lost all faith in the justice system today, but I have not lost faith in the stories of the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. And I want the survivors to know that the world is watching. And we must show them what we're made of. We're made of the courage of the Epstein survivors. We're made of the bravery of the Epstein survivors. We're made of the truth of the Epstein survivors. And we're here today to demand justice for the Epstein survivors, because their stories are our stories. There are judges all across the country, all across the United States of America, who are revealing the names and the identities and the residents, the addresses, the contact information of rape victims everywhere. Rape victims who come forward and name names are sued by their rapists. This is happening not just to them, but to women everywhere. In my case, I went to the Law enforcement over 2 years ago. Evidence on a silver platter. Today, not a single person arrested, not a single person in jail. And so the days of the cover up are over. And I am begging the media, don't make this partisan. This is about the victims. And this will go down, the Epstein saga and Maxwell, this will go down as one of the greatest cover-ups in American history. And I'm going to stand with the Epstein survivors until my last breath to ensure that the rich and powerful do not get away with this. Because America's system is a two-tiered system of justice. There's one for the rich and powerful, and there's one for the rest of us. And those days are over, and I want the rich and powerful, the princes, the princesses, the prime ministers, the former presidents to know your days are numbered. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you.
So I just want to just acknowledge that who are just before us are grown women. But it's not hard for me when I look at them to see a 17-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 9-year-old. We're talking about children who were groomed, preyed upon, exploited, raped, trafficked, dreams permanently deferred, bodies violated, and spirits permanently bruised. In Virginia's book, Nobody's Girl, it's titled that because she felt she belonged to no one, that no one cared. These survivors have been used, abused, and discarded. Jeffrey Epstein can rot in hell, and Ghislaine Maxwell can follow suit. And all of those co-conspirators and accomplices deserve to be named and shamed. Because as Virginia once said, if we don't know who they are, the monsters are still out there harming people.
Hang on. Let me see what you guys are saying. It's a lot. When I tell you guys that it's heavy, normally I just play the stream and I don't give that much commentary on it. But do you guys, we can listen to the rest of that and hear what the survivors have to say. Or do you want to, I'll give you guys a choice. Do you want to hear some of the names that's being mentioned in these files? It's a lot. Would you say, Claude, a lot of the files had the perpetrators' names blacked out, but many of the victims' names were not? I think it's crazy. We're looking at one of them. I think it's crazy. I'll let it play. Melissa, I'll let it play, but I don't know how much more I can hang in there with this one. I don't know. You guys can tell me what you want in the chat.
People. So I thank you for being here today. This is a season of call a thing. So I have to be direct. Survivors gathered here today. I'm so grateful for their courage and leadership, and equally devastated and furious about what they have endured. You were failed by so many powerful people that could have protected your childhood. You were failed by a government that ignored your cries for decades. Truly an institutional betrayal. We're fighting with every bone in our bodies for you. The files that have been released have further detailed a vivid picture of depraved behavior and dehumanization, violent violations, hurt and harm. No person, no child should ever endure. It is an abuse and harm that changes you on a cellular level for the rest of your life. It is a lifetime sentence. And together we are fighting for every survivor carrying visible and invisible scars, burdened by shame. Let me be clear, the shame is not yours to carry. Shame on the people that abused you. Shame on the government that failed you. The shame is not yours to carry. And we must meet your courage with real action. And again, although I know our survivors have left to take their seats at the judiciary hearing, I'm speaking to all the Epstein survivors, but to all survivors for whom the Epstein survivors are a proxy for. This moment requires that we meet their courage with real action. These powerful abusers have been protected by institutions that are more concerned with the wealthy and well-connected than centering survivors. The Department of Justice must continue to release files, and they must correct course as we've demanded from the beginning. The identities of survivors in these files must be redacted and protected. And this can't end with the release of the files. We must see thorough investigations followed by swift accountability for all that enabled and incited this abuse. Words are important, but actions are what matter now. And that's why we will not yield. Thank you for being here today, and our work continues.
Good morning, everyone. I am Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, and I am so proud to represent New Mexico's 1st Congressional District and to stand with the survivors and to be joined by my colleagues from the Oversight, Judiciary, and other committees of jurisdiction in this case. While the survivors have left to attend the Pam Bondi hearing that starts in just a few moments, we will stay for a few extra moments to answer questions of the press. You see behind me members of the Oversight Committee that have been engaged in a months-long bipartisan investigation in the Epstein case. Let me begin by saying one thing. Believe the survivors.
That's right.
We are being asked every single day to name names. They have named the names. They are in the files. Believe the survivors. Believe your eyes. Believe what you are reading. They have named the names, and for the last 20 years, justice has not been served here in these United States.
That's right.
20 years ago, in 2007, the U.S. Department of Justice and the FBI drew up a 56-page indictment that included 32 counts of federal crimes against Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators, and 1 year later dropped the case. In the years that ensued, hundreds and potentially thousands of additional victims of sexual violence were allowed to happen because the United States government failed to act. Today, that same injustice is continuing right now here in the halls of Congress, the halls of the Department of Justice, and yes, in the halls of the White House. Late last night, I posted an FBI file that names names. That is the FBI's file. Those are the names of rich and powerful people, including presidents, that the FBI itself was tracking in the Epstein investigation. That is based on victims naming names. So believe the victims. Believe your eyes. The names have been named. They are in the public domain. They are in the files. And we will tell you unequivocally, we will keep naming names. Mm-hmm. While we do, as members of Congress, have access to these unredacted files, let us be clear, the law is clear that these files should never have been redacted the way that they are currently. It is very clear that the United States government is involved in an active cover-up and protecting the allies of the president and the Department of Justice, and that active members of this administration have lied under oath to the American people and to this Congress, and we will hold you accountable. Now, it has already been stated multiple times this morning that governments across the world are acting.
Governments across the world are demanding accountability. People are rising up. Survivors are coming forward. People are naming names, and names are being taken down. Yet here in the United States, the injustice that has spanned now 2 decades is continuing because of an active cover-up by the president himself. So what we ask all of you, the American people, members of the press, the eyes of the world who are watching us here in the United States, believe the survivors.
Yes.
Have courage. Do the right thing. Because the survivors have already had the courage to say those names over and over again. And they have more courage and guts than half of the people in the buildings behind us and most of the people in this town. But we want you to know that we will not let this injustice stand. We will stand here every day with the survivors. We will not stop. We will look through every file. We will follow every lead, and justice will be served. And to every survivor out there, here in the United States and across the world, the millions of survivors, girls, women, boys, people who are watching, we know the eyes of the world are on us. We stand with you. We are fighting for you. You are not alone. And whether you have come forward or not, we want you to know that we are fighting for you. We see you, and we will fight for justice.
That's right.
And so with that, we will open it up for questions. And some of us are going to head over to the Judiciary Committee, where Pam Bondi has to answer some very serious questions. Do we have any questions from the press? Yes.
Several members of the British political class have lost their positions, as you've mentioned, as a result of being associated with the Epstein files. Do you think that people in the Trump administration, like Secretary Lutnick, should lose their job as a result of misrepresenting their relationship with Epstein?
Absolutely. It is very clear that Howard Lutnick lied to the American people about the nature of his relationship, and that he repetitively lied, including potentially perjuring himself yesterday right behind me in the United States Senate. We have the files. We know the nature of the relationship. We know that there are multiple witnesses who shared information with the FBI about Howard Lutnick's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It's time for him to stand down.
I'd add one thing. What message does it send about our country to our kids when people in Europe are being held accountable, but people in the United States are not being held accountable for the same exact situation? So we have to hold people in this administration accountable, no matter how powerful they are.
Yeah. And this is Suhas Subramanian from Virginia.
Over time, we've heard more about the involvement of the man formerly known as Prince Andrew.
Mm-hmm.
We've had statements from Buckingham Palace
Mm-hmm.
and from William and Kate saying their thoughts as if the victims. I just wonder what your thoughts are. Jeffrey Epstein was a man who was invited to the palace. He was a Balmoral estate, the royal estate. He was a man who was in the midst of the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to King Charles with regard to what he should do as the head of the royal household? Should he get involved? Should he publicly answer questions? What action would you like to see?
Well, I'm humbled that you would ask a mere citizen congresswoman from New Mexico to comment on what is happening with the royal family. But let me just say this generally. When you examine what the FBI and the United States investigated of Jeffrey Epstein for more than a decade, it is very clear that his crimes included not just sex trafficking, but international money laundering, potential influence peddling of state secrets to foreign governments. We still don't understand the nature of his intelligence work. And it is not only a stain on the reputation of all world leaders that there are leaders that were in association with Epstein and his sexual crimes, but it's also a national security risk. And I think that what has unfolded in the UK over the last couple of weeks is that Jeffrey Epstein was a national security risk to the UK. And it's important that the individuals who may have either intentionally or inadvertently shared information be held accountable.
So I see you
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in terms of King Charles, I mean, the family's reputation is on the line right now. And so I hope they do the right thing by letting authorities hold Andrew accountable for anything he did. I still want to continue to see if Andrew will come and testify before our committee. But certainly the victims have said that justice has many forms, and one of them is the reputations and titles and power of many of these people who were involved in these crimes. And so their reputation is on the line right now.
Is that question that you have, given that Epstein was in amongst the royal family via Andrew for so long? Is that question that you have, perhaps? Did the wider royal family know more than we know? No more than they're letting.
It's hard for me to say. I think that's why we want all the documents to know exactly what evidence there is of any sort of knowledge of the crimes.
Mm-hmm. And I think especially when you have a peek behind the redactions and some of the email correspondence, Jeffrey Epstein had a vast network of leaders, businessmen, others that he was involved with globally. And it's not necessarily indicative that he was doing work for governments or that others in the government were involved, but it's clear that his influence peddling and his business scheme involved maintaining those kinds of relationships. So I think at this point, it's unclear that there's any evidence that points to broader participation outside of the individuals who've so far been named. Are there other questions? Yes, go ahead.
My name is Christine Miller, and I'm with Copyright Governance Lab. And have you seen any patterns of this overlapping with structural defects within our own CPS and family court systems?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the things that we met extensively, a number of members and survivors yesterday to talk about what comes next. And I want to make clear that both the members of Congress who are supporting the survivors and the survivors see this not as just a moment of accountability in this case, but about changing the culture and trajectory of violence against women and sexual violence here in the United States and around the world. And it's very clear that our justice system is not a trauma-informed justice system. The way in which the justice system is not only covering up the case now, but re-traumatizing and putting victims at risk is a part of the problem. But there are many laws that need to be changed. In addition to the bill that was introduced yesterday by Congresswoman Ledger Fernandez, there's a whole slate of legislation around violence and sexual violence around women, dealing with state statutes around the statute of limitations on these issues, and building a system that not only believes survivors, but supports them. And so part of our goal over the coming months is going to be to lift up survivor stories at more length so that they can tell their stories, so that young women especially and vulnerable people know what it looks like so they can help protect themselves, and so that we can change the laws to protect survivors in a better way. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm an engineer, and so I had a history of working for the U.S. Air Force and the Department of Defense as a GS-12 trained to be a GS-14. So my question is that nuclear systems and aircraft systems have minimum safety requirements for those technologies. They have automatic interlock, like safety interlocks. Do you consider the operating system of the government operating system? And if so, where are our minimum safety standards, like NIST and ISO? My son, just to add, was trapped in a structural defect after a major opium data breach in 2015, where my high-level security clearance was compromised. And since then, my identity has been burned by paperwork and structural defects across the nation and internationally. So I have been endlessly abducted, by our own government repeatedly across the United Kingdom and then across the U.S., Nevada, Colorado.
Would it be okay if we can talk to you a little bit more offline about your case? But I'll just say, yeah, I'll just say this. No, it's a political system. It's not an operating system, and we do need to reform the system. We'll take one more question, and then we're going to go ahead and head over to judiciary.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wonder, what do you want to hear from Pam Bondi today? What do you need to hear from Pam Bondi today?
Sorry, go ahead.
What do you
Yeah.
need to hear from Pam Bondi today?
Do you want to go ahead and start?
I have a lot of questions about where the 2.5 million files that they're withholding are, and whether they plan to release them and whether they plan to follow the law. That's the reality, because right now they're not following the law. They're not following our subpoena from our committee, and so we're going to continue to ask questions like that. Thank you.
I mean, personally, the only thing I want to hear from Pam Bondi is I resign. But we know that's not going to happen today. She needs to answer for not only her complete debacle of rolling out these files, but her lack of compliance with the law and the ways in which she has systemically failed the survivors. So thank you all so much. Thanks for joining us.
Attorney General Pam Bondi claims the DOJ released all the Epstein files and even listed out 300 names. But we're seeing blowback saying that is not the end of the story. So we're going to go through some of the notable people named to understand what exactly their connection is, if any, to the accused child sex trafficker. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, after Attorney General Pam Bondi's battle in front of the House Judiciary Committee last week, where she was grilled on all matters Jeffrey Epstein, namely regarding redactions and whether there were in fact other co-conspirators or not. In fact, we did a whole sidebar on that. Bondi then sent a letter out to lawmakers over the weekend saying that all the Epstein files have been released. And most importantly, she listed out over 300 high-profile names. Now, at first glance, you might be saying, wait a second. Did she just release the Epstein list? The list of Epstein's alleged co-conspirators, people who allegedly engaged in criminal activity, the abuse of young girls for years? That's why we have to put into context what this is about, okay? Because I'm going to go over the letter, I'm going to go over the names and try to make sense of it. Because a few things here, as we have previously reported, the DOJ indicated that there is no central Jeffrey Epstein client list that he had prepared. There's no little black book for people who knew about or participated in criminal activity and that he kept as a form of blackmail. This is not surprising. I never thought that there was anything like this. There's no evidence of that. There is an address book that we've talked about here on Sidebar before. It's not the same thing. And to be clear, I'm going to say this over and over again, just because someone is mentioned in the files or mentioned in an address book doesn't mean that they knew about or engaged in criminal activity. So let me briefly summarize the letter and then I'll get into the names, okay? So in a letter that was dated this past Saturday, February 14th, this was addressed to the Senate Judiciary Committee, Chairman Chuck Grassley, Ranking Member Dick Durbin, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, and Ranking Member Jamie Raskin. The letter explains that under the newly passed Epstein Files Transparency Act, the DOJ has to explain everything that was released. And remember, this was an act that said, you got to turn over everything in your possession. So one of the things they have to do under the law is they have to explain what was released. They have to explain a summary of all the redactions and the legal basis for them. And this is the key. Quote, a list of all government officials and politically exposed persons named or referenced in the released materials. Okay, they had to list this out. So first, some context here. Pam Bondi explained that they released all the files in their possession regarding 9 categories. Basically, anything about Epstein, anything about Ghislaine Maxwell, flight logs or travel records, associated government officials and entities, immunity deals, internal Department of Justice communications regarding not charging someone or prosecuting someone, anything about destroying Epstein data and materials, and any materials surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's death. That's basically a summary of what they had to release. Now, in terms of what was withheld from public disclosure, the letter explains that there are those records that were subject to certain privileges, like attorney-client privilege, but the letter made clear that no records were withheld that were merely just embarrassing to someone, and that they tried to remove personally identifiable information about victims, although, as I'm sure you heard from various reporting, there were allegations that the DOJ failed to 100% do that. And then we get this, quote, below is a list of all government officials and politically exposed persons named or referenced in the release materials, although the letter explains that politically exposed person, not really well defined. But there is a footnote of the list that says any omissions from the list are unintentional and, as explained in the previous letters to Congress, a result of the volume and speed with which the department complied with the act. Individuals whose names were redacted for law enforcement sensitive purposes are not included, meaning if there's an ongoing investigation. Now, I'm not going to read you all 300 names. We're going to put it up on the screen here, but this is an example of some names. Jay-Z, Beyonce, Steve Bannon, George W. Bush, Bill and Hillary Clinton, George Clooney, Ron DeSantis, Richard Branson, Fidel Castro, Kurt Cobain, Mick Jagger, Cory Booker, Jeff Bezos, Joe and Jill Biden, Michael Cohen, James Comey, David Copperfield, Robert De Niro, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jared Kushner, Janis Joplin, Donald Trump, Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, Ivanka Trump, J.D. Vance, Chris Tucker, Rupert Murdoch, Gavin Newsom, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Elvis Presley, Brett Ratner, Alyssa Milano, Elon Musk, Larry Nassar, Barack Obama, Tucker Carlson, Rosie O'Donnell, Bill Gates, Rudy Giuliani, Nikki Haley, Leon Black, Woody Allen, Alex Jones, Michael Jackson. Okay, so that's just a sampling of the names. Obviously, there are a lot more. Now, I'm going to get to what this means. But before I do that, real quick, got to give a shout out to today's sponsor, OneSkin. You have to take care of your skin. Look, as we get older, dryness, deeper wrinkles, it can be very frustrating. Support our show. Tell them we sent you. You are receptionist station at Epstein's New York home. They kept track of underage children and people in power coming and going. Here's another one. Where is all the audio and video from the Lolita Express, meaning Jeffrey Epstein jet? Then you had Representative Ro Khanna, quote, the DOJ is once again purposefully muddying the waters on who was a predator and who was mentioned in an email. To have Janis Joplin, who died when Epstein was 17, in the same list as Larry Nassar, who went to prison for the sexual abuse of hundreds of young women and child pornography, with no clarification of how either was mentioned in the files, is absurd. Release the full file, stop protecting predators, redact only the survivors' names. So why are all of these people listed? And I really want to focus more on names we haven't talked about as much. Like we've already discussed in previous episodes of Sidebar, the Clintons, President Trump, director Woody Allen's connection to Epstein, Elon Musk's back and forth with Epstein or his people regarding meeting up. Actually, I'll tell you what, before I even get to other names, one more thing about Musk that I thought was interesting, and this was outlined in a Fortune article. The files allegedly reveal a scheme by Epstein to get close to Musk's brother, Kimball, and even tried to handpick a woman for him. Like you have this email from an Epstein associate, Boris Nikolic, to Epstein in 2012 that says, just talk to Kimball. His actual birthday is on Thursday night, although his party is on Saturday. Kimball, Elon, and few of their closest friends will go out that night. I told him that you will join us as well. Also, I told him that you were coming with redacted and that he might want to ditch his ex or current to be. He said yes and is looking so much forward. So please prepare redacted. She might like Elon as well. And then you see how Epstein even tried to seemingly leverage that to get close to Elon Musk, where Epstein wrote Musk in one message, I will be in New York for next week. We'll see your brother in his new romance. And of course, you have people like Bill Gates, Microsoft's founder, already well established that he had a connection to Epstein. There are photos of him in connection to Epstein. I talked about this in a previous sidebar. It was reported that there was this bizarre email where Epstein alleged that Gates needed medication to treat an STI from having sex with Russian girls. Bill Gates has denied all of this. But anyway, giving you an idea about the big names. So what about the other names? Now I'm going to give you the caveat that is laid out by Pam Bondi in her letter. It says, quote, names appear in the files released under the acts in a wide variety of contexts. For example, some individuals had extensive direct email contact with Epstein or Maxwell, while other individuals are mentioned only in a portion of a document, including press reporting that on its face is unrelated to the Epstein and Maxwell matters. Like, for example, you might have somebody like Elvis Presley, obviously no connection to Jeffrey Epstein, but then you get a Prince Andrew, who we've, by the way, talked about extensively in another episode of Sidebar where we talked about the royals' connection to Epstein. So that is what I want to provide context and explanation for, because listing these out, people might jump to conclusions. but let me try to explain it. So for example, a name like rock singer Janis Joplin. You know why she's in there? She was referenced in a mass email that BCC'd Jeffrey Epstein. And in the email listed music of the week. Quote, Janis Joplin, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Piece of My Heart. Seemingly innocuous, although interesting because there appears to be a redacted line underneath this sentence. What about Nirvana's Kurt Cobain? Why is he in there? So in an informational email that was sent to Epstein from popular in your network, info@twitter.com, one of the things it seems to recommend for him is an article remembering Kurt Cobain on the 22nd anniversary of his death. So as you can see, it's not like Joplin or Cobain were somehow connected to Epstein. Again, wouldn't even make sense given the time frame. And then you have somebody like former President Barack Obama, where from what I could see, it was just a lot of articles about Obama in the files release, like news articles. I didn't find any direct ties between Epstein and the former president. Same kind of thing with Bruce Springsteen. Mentions of him are about tickets and concerts and email blasts. So as you go through this list, and maybe you're going to go on the DOJ's library yourself, just keep that in mind. But what about somebody like actor George Clooney? Now, this is interesting because on one hand, you have Clooney mentioned in certain aspects. Like there was an email sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2011 saying, quote, reminder, today is the day Peggy was hoping you could be in Venice with her for the Clooney opening. Pacino to be there, seemingly in reference to Al Pacino. Now, Peggy seems to be in reference to Peggy Siegel, big-time publicist, frequent communication with or about Epstein. We mentioned this before, but there was an allegation that she even tried to do damage control for Epstein when all these allegations were coming out. But then you have this email titled Toronto Film Festival. This is back in 2009 from Peggy Siegel to Epstein, where it says, had a great time in Toronto, saw everyone, George Clooney, Michael Douglas, Jeffrey Rush, Drew Barrymore, etc. Saw all studio execs, more important. How about this one from Siegel to Epstein from 2011? This email to George Clooney gives you an idea how successful my Venice trip was. Accomplished so much. Hung and discussed their work with George Clooney, Kate Winslet, Keira Knightley, Colin Firth, Al Pacino, on and on. We have working on all the hot films. Have to write my story now. Miss you. Want to see you when in New York City. XOXO Peggy. So not really sure what to make of that unless, of course, she's just sharing with him her exploits or, he likes being involved or connected to the rich and powerful and wants to make connections and she might be the conduit. I don't know. But then there's this one we got to talk about. So someone writes Epstein in 2010, quote, can I have a muse same as George Clooney? In fact, what about George Clooney? Epstein writing back, in your present position, it should be George Clowney. Now, at the bottom of the email string, it says Peter Mandelson, somebody we've talked about before, the British politician who came under a lot of fire for emails that surfaced with him and Epstein, particularly celebrating and congratulating him when he was released from prison after his conviction on Florida state charges of solicitation of prostituting a minor. That's a little weird. Then you have this email too from Epstein to someone back in 2014 with the subject line, Clooney in Copenhagen, quote, now I know Copenhagen has interesting girls. Ask Gianni if you should see agencies on his behalf. This is what Epstein writes back. So I don't know what to make of these Clooney emails per se, but the actor has never been accused or implicated in wrongdoing in connection with Jeffrey Epstein. But obviously I got to mention this. And then you got these notable people that have a more direct connection with Epstein, like actor Chris Tucker. Okay, you have this email from 2013 that reads, Chris Tucker will be stopping by to see J.E. sometime before his show tonight. No exact time was given. And we already know there were photos of Tucker in connection with Epstein, like there's one with him and Ghislaine Maxwell that has been circulated quite a bit. What about Jay-Z? So Jay-Z presents an interesting one to follow. There is a 2019 FBI crisis intake memo where someone back in July of 2019 apparently called the FBI Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of sexual abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. And later on it says, quote, in approximately 1996, Redacted resided with Redacted in Redacted. An unknown man abducted Redacted from her home when she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had, and I'm not going to be too graphic here, sexually abused her. Redacted believed she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. Weinstein, of course, is the disgraced movie producer who was convicted of sex crimes. But I will tell you, this is very similar to a range of tips that authorities were receiving in the wake of Epstein's allegations that were potentially never corroborated. I mean, we discussed the same thing multiple times on previous episodes of Sidebar regarding the unsubstantiated sexual abuse allegations against President Trump, too. Just something to keep in mind. But names like Harvey Weinstein, not a great connection. Neither is Bill Cosby, okay? He too is mentioned in the Epstein files. Like this email to Epstein from 2013, quote, Rich Barnett ran into Mr. Cosby's houseman on 71st Street. The houseman said, unfortunately, Mr. Cosby will be out west somewhere in California when you're holding the dinner on the 23rd. Otherwise, he would have loved to come. So this idea that Epstein just loved to be affiliated and associated with the rich and famous, and as we know, Cosby would later be accused and go to trial on sexual assault claims. This one was surprising. Former TV show personality Dr. Oz, who's an official in the current Trump administration. So there is an email from 2016 from Mehmet and Lisa Oz, that's his wife. And now remember, this is after Epstein's conviction on solicitation of prostitution charges of a minor. And this email is to Epstein, and it is actually an invite to Mehmet and Lisa Oz's Valentine's celebration. How about this one? Sent to Epstein in 2010. Rudy Giuliani could see you tomorrow, either at 12 or at 4:45. I'm not sure what time you arrive tomorrow, but I am thinking the 4:45 is better. Again, have to make the caveat, just because he was invited places or had meetings with places doesn't mean these people are guilty of anything, okay? Why is Robert De Niro listed? Well, Epstein receives an email in 2013 that reads, Hi, Jeffrey, called redacted, but she never called back. Have been seeing redacted once in a while, have lots to tell you. Call me when you, I think it says, set up coffee deal with De Niro, launched in Whole Foods under Grace of Rwanda. Best, Jonathan. So maybe trying to meet Robert De Niro, possibly another De Niro. There are more about the actor, though, too. So you go back to Peggy Siegel. How about this one, 2017, when she wrote, Dear Jeffrey, I'm volunteering to help the New York Film Society of Lincoln Center with their spring gala called the 44th Annual Chaplin Awards, honoring Robert De Niro on May 8th. The presenters include Whoopi Goldberg, Meryl Streep, Martin Scorsese, Ben Stiller, and Harvey Keitel. See attached invite. I need to talk to you about the possibility of you buying a table that I can fill with movie stars, and hopefully you can attend. Now, Epstein was also on an email blast from an account that was set up for Jane Rosenthal and Robert De Niro back in 2015 regarding the Tribeca Film Festival, which the actor helped to found. But as you'll see, it's just an example of his connections to powerful people. And while I couldn't find, let's say, a direct email between Robert De Niro and Jeffrey Epstein, let's talk about Mark Zuckerberg for a second, okay? Facebook. How about this message? Quote, Leslie, thanks. The things I discussed with Jeffrey were for he and Woody, seemingly Woody Allen, to visit Mark Zuckerberg at Facebook or for Mark to join them at dinner. I've sent Mark the options and I'm waiting to hear back. How about this? Andrea, could you also please pass along the below link to Mark from Jeffrey? Thanks. Again, this is Leslie, Jeffrey Epstein's assistant. How about this one? Here are the details for the Sunday dinner. Attendees are, and it lists out Mark Zuckerberg, Peter Thiel, Jeffrey Epstein. There are more names on there too. I mentioned Hakeem Jeffries, so getting into the political space. Seems at the very least, Epstein was kind of keeping a careful eye on the Democratic politician out of New York. He was forwarded an article about the rising star in 2013. Epstein also received an email, could be an email blast. It says, Dear Jeffrey, I hope you received an invite to the party that Congressman Hakeem Jeffries this Wednesday night in Manhattan. Comptroller-elect Scott Stringer will be leading the celebrations in what promises to be a great night. Again, didn't find any direct connection or direct email between Hakeem Jeffries and Jeffrey Epstein. What about George Soros, the investor? Email sent to Epstein in 2011. Thank you. Just landed in New York. Was terrific. Flew over your island coming back from Necker to St. Thomas. George Soros and Richard Branson loved your question about dictators hiding money. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. You have this email from 2018 to Jeffrey Epstein where it reads, Jeff Bezos at SMU Friday. Worth seeing if I'm not still sick? Epstein replies, yes, you can say hello from me. So was there a connection between Bezos and Epstein? Also this one from Peggy Siegel to Epstein in 2009. Just left Ghislaine's townhouse, after party for film. Bill Clinton and Jeff Bezos were there. Gene Pagoni, director, Millionaire, etc. So you can see his connections in some way, but I will say the names that really prove to be pivotal and come up a lot are people like Leon Black, the investor and former CEO of Apollo Global Management. So, for example, there's an email from May 26, 2023. The names are redacted, but the subject line is E-Notes Trafficking Leon Black Call. And this apparently is a call with Gian Christensen from Wigdort LLP. This is a law firm. And this firm actually at one point represented a woman who claimed she was raped by Leon Black, but they eventually wanted to withdraw from the case. And anyway, the email states, quote, Leon Black, Wall Street person, 72 or 71 years old now, founded the largest private equity global fund that exists today that's publicly traded. One of Epstein's friends, very powerful. Got a call from victim woman who said that she heard about lawsuit against Black. Victim said Black raped her around 20 years ago, 2001 or 2002, in Epstein's townhouse. Victim described it, felt pain, on massage table with head on floor and legs on his shoulders, excruciating. Spoke with redacted at Manhattan DA's office. Substance abuse problems in 1990s, preyed on by Epstein, gave massages to Epstein and Black for money. Another claim. Minor victim at Epstein's townhouse and was told to give Leon Black a massage. Violently raped by Black. 16 years old when raped by Black. Epstein and Black used to talk about victim and described her as being 10. They knew about her. Redacted. And when you couple those allegations with emails apparently showing Epstein associates arranging meetings between him and Black, I mean, there's one, Leon Black will come see JE tomorrow at 10 a.m. He may want breakfast. Please be prepared. It doesn't look good. And while Black's lawyer, Susan Estrich, previously denied the allegations, for example, saying in a statement, Mr. Black asked for an independent investigation of his relationship with Epstein, the Detchert law firm investigated and reviewed more than 60,000 documents, interviewed more than 20 people, and concluded that Mr. Black paid Epstein for estate planning and tax advice, and that he had no awareness of Epstein's criminal activities. There was still fallout. Black reportedly left Apollo in 2021 after a lot of questions came up about his relationship with Epstein, although he said it was for health reasons. But how about this? You had a school photography company known as Lifetouch came under a lot of scrutiny recently because it turns out its parent company, Shutterfly, was owned by Apollo. Again, where Black worked. So the concern is you're storing all these photos of kids. They put out a statement on their website on February 10th saying Lifetouch is not named in the Epstein files. The documents contain no allegations that Lifetouch itself was involved in or that student photos were used in any illicit activities. And it also should be noted that Apollo wasn't linked to Shutterfly and Lifetouch until September of 2019. So this is 1 month after Epstein died. By the way, Black has never been charged with a crime in connection with these allegations. But also another person I got to talk about, Richard Branson, okay, the billionaire founder of Virgin Group. Now, his association with Epstein was already quite known, considering the two were photographed together. But let me just expand upon that, because you can see so many emails exchanged between the two or trying to connect the two. Like you have this one from 2013 to Jeffrey Epstein that reads, Richard Branson is unable to come to your island because he has guests, but he wants to extend an invitation to you for lunch on Sunday. Dean Kamen and Greg Weiler will be going as well to this lunch. Or how about this one from November 2013, where Epstein writes to Branson's assistant, I can send heli or meet anywhere. And Branson's assistant replies, Hi, Jeffrey. If Richard comes to you for lunch, would he have to go through immigration and customs on St. Thomas? Is there a quick way of getting through? And then you have direct communications, like this one from Branson to Epstein in September of 2013. Dear Jeffrey, it was really nice seeing you yesterday. The boys in water sports can't stop speaking about it. Anytime you're in the area, would love to see you. As long as you bring your harem. I think if Bill Gates was willing to say that you've been a brilliant advisor to him, that you slipped up many years ago by sleeping with a 17-and-a-half-year-old woman and were punished for it, that you've more than learnt your lesson and have done nothing that's against the law since, and yes, as a single man, you seem to have a penchant for women, but there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway, something along those lines. So I have to make the argument, is that seemingly in relation to his conviction, right? A way to rehabilitate his image to get more business? Maybe. Now, Branson's company came out, denied that he had any involvement in Epstein's wrongdoing, that his meetings with him were limited to group or business settings, and that he cut off ties with Jeffrey Epstein after they, quote, uncovered serious allegations. And by the way, in a statement, Branson's company says, had they had the full picture information, there would have been no contact whatsoever. Richard believes that Epstein's actions were abhorrent and supports the right to justice for his many victims. What about United States Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick? I'm sure you heard his name in the news recently. So this is Epstein's former neighbor. He has been taking a lot of heat recently over his connection to Epstein. See, the problem for Lutnick is the files seem to show he was in contact with the convicted felon years after he claimed he cut off contact with him. Like you have this one from Lutnick, where he writes Jeffrey Epstein, I believe in 2018, are you aware as to them building to block our park views? What should we do about it? Time is of the essence. There appears to be an invitation to Epstein from Lutnick asking him to attend a Hillary Clinton fundraiser in 2015. You have this email from Epstein's assistant in 2017. Hello, Amanda. Jeffrey Epstein will be contributing to the UJA Wall Street dinner honoring Howard Lutnick. Can you please provide an address to where we can FedEx a check to? Whose attention? Anything else we should know? And how about these from 2012? An email from Lutnick to Epstein. Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early Saturday afternoon and planning to head over to St. Bart's, Anguilla on Monday at some point. Where are you located? What's the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? I have another couple, Michael and Marcy Lehrman, with me on my boat, and each of us has 4 children, 2 16s, 2 14s, a 13, a 12, an 11, and a 7-year-old. Thanks, Howard. The response back, quote, below from Jeffrey, comes Saturday or Sunday lunch, Little St. James on the map behind Chrisman's Cove. By the way, there are currently calls for Lutnick to resign, but nothing has come of it yet. But the fallout for others, not so great. Like you have Larry Summers, former head of Harvard, Treasury Secretary. The friendship between Summers and Epstein's was well reported. You had the Harvard paper, The Crimson, revealing a lot that Summers had apparently visited Epstein's Island in 2005. There were flight records as part of a lawsuit that revealed he had traveled on Epstein's plane multiple times. But then you get these emails that come forward, and you see all these communications between the men, like where Summers was looking for Epstein for seemingly romantic advice, with Epstein saying, quote, he's a pretty good wingman. I didn't want to be in a gift-giving competition while being the friend without benefits. You have this exchange from just months before Epstein was arrested in 2019, where Summers writes about some woman. I said, what are you up to? She said, I'm busy. I said, awfully coy you are. Epstein responds, she's smart, making you pay for past errors. Ignore the daddy, I'm going to go out with the motorcycle guy. You reacted well. Annoyed shows caring. No whining showed strength. Now, Summers released a statement that said, I'm deeply ashamed of my actions and recognize the pain they have caused. I take full responsibility for my misguided decision to continue communicating with Mr. Epstein, but he ended up stepping back from his duties at Harvard. He resigned from his board position at OpenAI. Now, again, to be clear, just a mere association or mention or emails or correspondence doesn't mean that anyone had knowledge of criminal wrongdoing or participated in criminal wrongdoing. And just to be clear as well, no one has been charged other than Maxwell and Epstein. But again, that is just a sampling of some of the things we're seeing as the names were released. You can go and do your own research and see what you find. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. We're also up on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you next time, everybody.
That was a lot. Okay, so I just dropped something. So we're not gonna get everything that we want out of those. Am I muted? Can y'all hear me? Oops, sorry. Hang on. I don't know what's wrong with my volume. So we're not gonna get everything that we want out of those files. Sorry, guys. Hang on. I think. I don't know what's wrong with mine. Oh, you hear me? Okay. Well, I told you that. Okay, Lawrence, thank you. I told you that I would cover them, and I want to break it down more for you. The problem that I see with all the names, and yes, there's a lot that's redacted, but there's no context. Now, if you go through the emails, you can get, a gist of the conversation, but man, as far as the victims go, I'm not sure what kind of justice they're going to get. Maybe some lawsuits, maybe, we see Maxwell facing that. We see Maxwell sentenced. Is that enough? You was impatient? Dr. Manhattan is okay. Is that enough? Lorenzo? So there's just a lot. Now, did you guys not hear Obama mentioned in those files? But all you guys want to say is, what about Trump? There's a lot of people in those files. The Beyonce, Jay-Z. But just because a person is mentioned in those files, and I'll say that even regarding Obama, it doesn't make them guilty. But there's, I mean, Prince Andrew, they're talking about these files globally. And I'm listening to the victims. I'm listening to a lot. Now, you guys have some good questions. Where were the parents? How did they get on the island? If you listen to some of the victims, they'll tell you how they got to the island. They'll tell you how they were groomed. Now, I'm not speaking for all of them, but some of them will tell you. So all I could tell you is that some things that's really gross. Did you guys hear that Kid Rock video when he's talking about going out with a girl underage, and it's some people call it statutory, he calls it mandatory, stuff like that. I feel that when it comes to things like this, and I like his music, but when it comes to wealthy people, they play by a different set of rules. And I don't think it'll ever be a fair playing field. I think that it'll always be this world that we're not really aware of. I live in California, and I've seen a lot in Hollywood parties and things like that I wouldn't even tell you guys about because you're just looking at me cross-eyed. Nothing to this extent, but I can tell you that a lot goes on in Hollywood. There's a lot that goes on with wealthy people, and I feel like a lot of us, you heard about that, Sebastian? That's what he said. And what is the name of that song? I don't even want to promote that song, but I was just like, wow. I listened to the Kid Rock song so many times, like, there's got to be a hidden meaning. No, he boldly says it. Underage, younger girls, underage. Made it very clear. If that's what he likes, that's what he likes. Whatever. I just know that a lot of us feel some kind of way about these files. Some feel betrayed. Some people feel protective over Donald Trump. I get it all. I get both sides. I'm not here to interpret any of it. I'm just going to give it to you. And it took me a while to find something that's going to lay out the name so you guys can have it plainly. Because if you try to go through Gmail, if you try to go on X, it's hard to put it all together. So I played that clip to lay it out because I felt like that was the most unbiased and most direct video I could show you guys in a short amount of time. Cool daddy, cool old Dr. Redhead, put it in there. I think he said it because he knew it would get attention. Regardless though, Sebastian, I feel that, hi Tony, I feel that some people, that kind of music, people kind of just give it a pass, but let that be a rap song and I don't listen to rap, then there will be an uproar over, oh my goodness, he's talking about underage girls. Music is very influential, so he could say to get attention and somebody else could take it as, wow, this is cool. But people are getting locked up. Y'all see all these teachers getting locked up for students. It's really sickening. Our kids are being what is what I'm looking for? Exploited. Now the parents are the kids' first line of defense. I can't blame the parents. I can't blame anybody except for anyone that violates a child. As far as the Epstein files go, we're not going to get the full story ever. A lot of it's going to be covered up. And when you have just names and no context behind the names, there is no list of dates. There is no, that would have been put out already. I don't believe that exists. If Trump were in them, he'd be smeared a long time ago. In his first term, they sat on that file for several years. That's true. That's true. Hang on, you guys. I kind of don't like being in my chat at the same time. Hi, Frank. If Donald Trump was in the files the way that people tried to make it seem like he was, as far as doing anything inappropriate, that would have been put out a long time ago, especially during the Biden administration. I stand by that. Unless I see something else in there, I don't believe he would have signed the Transparency Act if he was in those files in a negative way. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene crying those tears of hers, talking about I just want the files released. I don't buy any of that from Marjorie. I think Marjorie lost her credibility a long time ago. But as far as the victims wanting those files out, they're out now. They're out. I don't feel that there's anything else that we're gonna find out besides these names. We'll see what happens with Pam Bondi and what's going on with her. I don't believe she's gonna be removed from office. I don't believe she's gonna lose her position as Attorney General. If you're listening to this person for, what are you talking about? Let me get into my chat. If you're the victim, then you will be out crying victimhood. What does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Let me get out of my chat. So anyways, chicks who got pregnant and want more now, when she says, I will call them victims. If they're underage, I will call them victims. So I'm not going to say, oh, they made the right decisions, because when you're 13 and 14 years old, you have no way of knowing what's right or wrong and lifetime consequences. So I'm not going to do that. If you're abused at 13 or 14 years old, you're not at an age where you can consent, you're a victim. Okay. Now they're survivors because they're still here. But at the time, they were victims of these adults, and these adult men need to be held accountable. But the problem is, without people talking and saying names specifically, without evidence out there, is it going to happen? No, you guys, I don't believe it's going to happen. But I will continue to follow the story. Now, I'm not saying that I don't want it to happen. So you guys don't take this as MU not having sympathy. I'm telling you what's out there. And all the files and everything that I read, there is no, oh, this person did this. Oh, this person did that. Now, there's some disgusting things in those emails. There's some things that's like dark. They definitely talk about underage girls. But as far as like a dating list or a book or anything like that, I didn't see it. And if you guys find something like that, send it to me. I will gladly cover it. If you guys that keep saying Donald Trump did this, Donald Trump did that, send it to me and I will cover it. Other than that, it's just your conspiracies, it's your thoughts, and it's your imagination. Okay, Donald Trump, there is nothing in those files that I have read within these days that it's been out that implicates him in any crime. Period. Nothing. He was on the island with his wife, okay? They have a history. They have histories from Mar-a-Lago. They have history there. Elon Musk was another one that I was looking at. I didn't find anything that would put them in jail at all. What are you guys saying? Anyone who's trafficked or abused as a victim, it doesn't matter what age they are, people are disgusting. I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. And that stuff lives with you for a long time. Well, then you didn't read the files. Shredder, if you can show me something specifically, because I wouldn't talk about the files if I didn't read the files. I've been reading these files. I've been going through the files. And none of you can come out and say that Donald Trump committed any crime. Some people are calling him a Pedialyte. Some people are calling him all kinds of things. Child this and child that. But if you guys really believe that, besides just making stuff up based off of who said what and what you think is in there, you would put it out there. You would be able to put out the document. You would have it on, it would be out there. TMZ would have put it out there. NBC would have put it out there. CNN would have put it out there. They would have said, wow, look at Donald Trump. That would be global news, actually. They would cover that all over Britain. But it's not there. All that people could say is his name is mentioned. But here's my problem with that, you guys. I have to be honest with you. My problem is that when you hear about the Clintons being over in there and Obama being in there, you guys still run back to Trump. So basically, it's like Donald Trump, you don't like. You don't like. Donald Trump is Republican, because all this shouldn't be a partisan thing. Honestly, it should be right versus wrong. And clearly, Clinton is in those files. Obama, I'm going to lay off Obama right now because yes, his name was mentioned, but I didn't see anything that would make me look at him twice. I didn't. So I'm not even gonna apply that. What did you say? You have your mind made up already? I don't have my mind made up already. He definitely is. The reports by survivors, TMZ has put it out there. They are redacted anything that could hold him accountable. No, they would have put that out there. There has to be video evidence for anyone to. There has to be video evidence to convict anyone. Unfortunately, there has to be something. Now, again, if there was something and Donald Trump was whatever, I would play for you guys. I wouldn't ask you guys to take my word for it. Just like I'm not taking you guys' word for it. That's like Donald Trump is guilty. No, show me. Show me. Because I'm looking at the same things that you guys are looking at. Okay. And they would have put it out during the Biden administration. He would not be president today. He wouldn't be, because that would have come out before he was elected. Okay, especially as people were going for Harris, that would have been put out like, hey, you guys aren't going to vote for Donald Trump. Not with these accusations. But it wasn't put out because it's not there. Period. And by putting out the whole thing before the election would only have cleared his name and vindicating him. So why not say, oh, the files aren't released yet and his name is in there, but we're going to release it? I believe that there's a reason why the Biden administration did not put it out before Donald Trump got into office, because they very well could have. That leads me to believe that he didn't do anything wrong, but they wanted you to believe that he did something wrong. They didn't put it out because they could have. For administrations. I'm keeping it real, Sebastian. Hey, Steven. How are you? Steven, how'd you find your way over here? What's good, Mr. Kerry? 34 felonies were dropped. 2 for Trump. 2 failed impeachments. Were they failed impeachments? I'm good. That's good. We just chatting. Were they best friends? Where'd you get that from? Eric, okay, you guys are just saying stuff. You guys are just saying stuff. I'm not here preaching about Donald Trump. I'm not here defending Donald Trump. But what I'm telling you guys is that evidence would have been put out there. They could have, of course. They're all guilty. Republicans are Democrats. I don't care. The only reason Trump released them because he was forced to. No, I don't think that was the only reason. People kept asking for it. I knew exactly who you were when you called me Nikki without even looking at the name. He wasn't forced to, but if people really, really, really wanted those files out, they would have been pushing for it during the Biden administration. Y'all know how long we've been talking about Epstein? Now it's like this big push. We've been talking about Epstein for a while. Okay? Why not this big push before? Wake up, lady. Everyone in the cabinet is connected to the files. Your POTUS is the most mentioned in traffic. Girls. Goodness gracious, that was rough. Steven says, if there has been anything in those files to put Trump behind bars, they would have gone after him a long time ago. Facts. Facts. There's no way around that. Files still being hidden. There is real testimony from survivors. Where are the files on that? Files are still out there. But according to Bonnie, now these aren't my words, all the files that are relevant have been put out. That's what she said. Doesn't mean I agree with her, but that's what said. The big push because the campaign and realizing you didn't hear Patel. I'm not sure what you mean, Terry. I didn't know why Biden didn't release them. Maybe they weren't finished. No, Biden didn't release them because it wasn't this big demand, and because Donald Trump can't be implicated in those files. Way too many deranged Trump haters for anything else to have happened. It was still an open investigation during Biden, but it wasn't though. It wasn't though. Trust Abbott had Epstein locked up. Do you guys believe that Epstein took his life? Do you guys believe that? I can't believe somebody so full of himself would do that. Democrats prosecuted Maxwell. Why are you so pushed on making this a Republican and Democrat thing? It's not a partisan thing. There's Republicans and Democrats in there. Everybody's guilty, to be honest. No. 504 girl said in all caps, ask all 4 administrations that didn't put them out why they didn't, not just the last one. Exactly. But Trump did put them out. Trump put them out. Billionaires don't commit suicide. I don't believe that he did. I feel like he lost a lot. You guys see how many people lost their life as information was about to get put out, and I feel so sorry for the survivor that lost. The girl that lost her life. I don't believe that any of these people are committing suicide. I feel that they want justice. They wanted justice. Because think about this: if Epstein would have taken his life, wouldn't he have done it the first time he was going through trial when he was actually convicted? Wouldn't he have been nervous about his sentence? No, he didn't care. And if you listen to some of those interviews, which I won't play for you tonight, I could. Have I played that interview for you guys before with Epstein talking about his crimes? It's pretty sick. Have you guys watched it? It's pretty not good. He had too much information on too many people for the powers to be to let him talk. Exactly, Stephen. Exactly. Epstein had some twisted views, but just the very fact that he didn't care who knew about it, that was crazy. Let me see. Let me see if I could find a short one. Yeah, I don't know if I have played them for you because I would have to find somewhere that I won't get a copyright. But it's pretty dark. So I don't know. We did the Black Book the other day. But yeah. Biden wasn't president in 2000. Mercy. There you go, you guys. I'm looking for something. I want to listen to. There is so much out there. And I hate looking at Epstein's face. Just, God, that was one sick individual. You're absolutely right, Stephen. What are you guys saying? There's also a strategy that the DOJ is using when releasing the files. They release them all in a big dump on purpose to make people overwhelmed. It's overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. He was protected on high until someone had to take a fall, so they picked him. I think he did. I think he had hope accidentally on purpose. So you think that he did commit suicide? Okay. Hey, Matthew. I don't know. I think that he was too full of himself to do it, but we won't know. We won't know. He felt untouchable. He did feel untouchable. And he kind of was. He made sure to lock in with so many powerful people, the wealthiest of, you see, the wealthiest in the world. Cameras everywhere in the house. Damn, that does sound like Diddy, doesn't it? Cameras everywhere in the house. There's a lot that went on. You want to punch the phone when you see him too, man. Yeah, even as I'm looking, trying to find an interview that's on somewhere where that's short. I can't. Which one? It's just too much. Let me go on mute real fast so I can hear this. You said Trump's name's in the files. I never denied that Trump's name was in the file. I never denied that, Eric. I said his name's in the file, but so is a lot of other people's name in the file, but there's no context. There's no context. And if there was, I would show it to you, but there's not. But there is a lot out there, and it is overwhelming trying to go through it all. Because I would be here all night showing you guys everything that is out there. I would be here for a long time doing that. The last stuff I was watching was Prince Andrew's, though. Watch me. You have Bill Gates. Bill Gates talking. Watch. Let me get off camera for 1 second. And it's just too. It's a lot. Hang on. Now, I don't know what's gonna happen. Oh shoot. That's not what I was looking for. Hang on.
Bill Gates breaking his.
I guess I'll show this one too, whatever. It's not what I was looking for. Oh, I see you sending me something. Give me a second. I got you. Hang on, guys. I got you right now. Look at, there's a lot. Let me go on mute real fast. Where are you?
Bill Gates breaking his silence over his name appearing in the Jeffrey Epstein files, saying, "I regret every minute spent together with Epstein." And Bill Gates' ex-wife, Melinda French Gates, making it very clear tonight who she believes should be answering the questions about this now. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Microsoft founder Bill Gates apologizing for his association with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, saying he regrets every minute they spent together.
I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
Gates said he never witnessed or took part in any inappropriate behavior. He insists his relationship with Epstein was focused on raising money for global health.
Every minute I spent with him, I regret, and I apologize that I did that.
Tonight, his ex-wife, Melinda French Gates, says this all brings back memories of, quote, very, very painful times in her marriage.
Whatever questions remain there of what I can't even begin to know all of it, those questions are for those people and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer to those things, not me.
Well,
and I am so happy to be away from all the muck.
The Justice Department's release of more than 3 million pages of documents making headlines around the world. In London tonight, new questions for the royal family as these pictures emerge of the former Prince Andrew kneeling over a young woman on the floor.
Good morning, Your Majesty. Will the royal family help the Epstein investigation? Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
Overnight, moving van spotted in Windsor as Andrew, now stripped by King Charles of his royal titles, is banished from his home at the Royal Lodge. His public efforts to distance himself from Epstein unsuccessful, now living in his brother the king's privately owned Sandringham estate. There are so many powerful men caught up in this sordid story. Bill Gates apologizing and saying he regrets every minute he spent with Epstein. And his ex-wife, Melinda French Gates, saying that she's just happy to be far away from all of it. David?
Pierre Thomas in Washington. Pierre, thank you.
From disturbing photos of the former Prince Andrew to his alleged sharing of government documents with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, the fallout from the Epstein files once again putting the British royal family into turmoil. Andrew has denied all wrongdoing, but the pressure is now ramping up on the royals to do and say more about their disgraced relative. The crown under fire.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
From King Charles to Prince William, shouted at in Saudi Arabia.
To what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue?
ITV also capturing Queen Camilla getting tough questions too.
Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
We've never actually seen other members of the royal family heckled to the extent that we have in the last few days.
The royal family forced to confront the fallout from former Prince Andrew's relationship with disgraced financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
These Epstein files have put so much information into the public domain, but they've also raised a lot of questions.
Fallout for the now former Prince Andrew after new images of the former royal were revealed in a latest release of Epstein files.
The royal family rocked.
I think that they're definitely rattled. It feels like they're very much on the back foot.
The British monarchy, known for keeping a stiff upper lip, facing a growing outcry to say and do more.
This is uncharted territory for the Crown. They need to be doing a forensic look at Andrew. Unlike politicians, who can often blame the previous administration, that's difficult for Charles. He can't undermine his late mother's legacy, but he does need to protect the institution.
Among the millions of pages recently released by the Justice Department related to Epstein, these photos, undated and lacking context, of King Charles's younger brother crouched over a young woman. Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing. Emails also appear to show Andrew sharing government documents with Epstein from a 2010 tour of Southeast Asia while serving as Britain's trade envoy. Thames Valley Police saying they are assessing the information. Now Buckingham Palace weighing in, a spokesperson for King Charles telling ABC News in part, while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address, if we are approached by Thames Valley Police, we will stand ready to support them as you would expect.
Well, it was an extraordinary statement from Buckingham Palace, the King's profound concern. He wanted to be seen on the side of the law, so he stated he would support the police if they chose to question Andrew Mountbatten Windsor.
A spokesperson for Prince William and Princess Catherine saying they're deeply concerned by the continuing revelations and that their thoughts remain with the victims.
Individual members of the royal family, when they're asked about this, they're very quick to say our thoughts are with the victims. But if you look at what the victims are saying and what the victims want accountability.
Prince Edward, the Duke of Edinburgh, welcome.
Only one royal has actually spoken when asked about the controversy, the King and Andrew's youngest brother, Prince Edward, speaking at the World Government Summit.
I think it's all really important always to remember the victims and who are the victims in all this.
Absolutely.
A lot of victims in this.
And now a new alleged victim coming forward, reportedly claiming that she too was trafficked to Andrew by Epstein. Her attorney telling the BBC the encounter allegedly occurred at the former prince's residence, Royal Lodge, in 2010. The woman was in her 20s at the time. ABC News reached out to Andrew, but he did not respond. And it's not just the royal family. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is also facing backlash for having appointed Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the US, despite his alleged ties to Epstein.
Keir Starmer has apologized. He's apologized directly to Epstein's victims. Now, he's apologized as a result of the fact that he chose to employ Mandelson.
In his resignation, Mandelson said he felt regretful and sorry for having been linked to Epstein. It's been a dramatic fall from grace for the once beloved son of Queen Elizabeth.
This probably does impact to an extent Elizabeth II's legacy. She had a soft spot, some would say blind spot, for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, and Charles inherited this mess.
In October of last year, the king stripping his brother of his remaining royal titles and evicting him and his ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, from their 30-room home at Royal Lodge. Ferguson, once known simply as Fergie, became a media darling in the 1980s when she became Andrew's girlfriend.
By now, we all know who she is. Sarah Ferguson, age 26, upbringing impeccable, social connections excellent.
Their marriage capturing the world's attention.
I want to be a good wife to you.
So too did their divorce.
The Duke and the Duchess of York, better known as Prince Andrew and Fergie, are planning a formal separation.
Andrew's dating life over the years chronicled in the tabloids, who dubbed him Randy Andy. But Ferguson continued to live at the same home as Andrew at various times over the past 30 years. Now, she too is ensnared in the Epstein controversy. According to an email in the files, Ferguson and her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, flew to Miami to visit Epstein less than a week after he was released from prison in July 2009. Another email allegedly sent from Ferguson to Epstein writing, "Thank you, Jeffrey, for being the brother I have always wished for."
Sarah Ferguson is all over the Epstein files. Certainly will have impacted the Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. Can't see a way that Sarah Ferguson can come back from this.
She has not commented on the recent disclosures about Epstein. More than a decade ago, she publicly stated she regretted the relationship. For years, Andrew has been under scrutiny for his friendship with Epstein.
Prince Andrew was a frequent visitor to Jeffrey Epstein's homes, not only in Manhattan, but also on his private Caribbean island. And we know that the two traveled in similar circles.
The late Virginia Giuffre alleged that she was a victim of sex trafficking and abuse by Epstein, and long claimed that he forced her to have sex with Andrew when she was just 17. In an interview with the BBC's Panorama, Giuffre detailed her allegations against the then prince.
Ghislaine tells me that I have to do for Andrew what I do for Jeffrey. And that made me sick. I just didn't expect it from royalty.
Andrew has denied the allegations. He was asked about Giuffre in that 2019 BBC interview.
I can absolutely categorically tell you.
Giuffre said that this now infamous photo of the two of them together backs up her account.
He knows what happened. I know what happened. And there's only one of us telling the truth. And I know that's me.
Nobody can prove whether or not that photograph has been doctored, but I don't recollect that photograph ever being taken.
In 2022, Andrew settled a lawsuit with Giuffre for an undisclosed sum, but denying any wrongdoing. Giuffre died before
I don't know. I'm so sorry, you guys. My internet gave out in the middle of my stream. I don't know what happened. Can y'all hear me? We're sorry. My internet kicked me out. Are you serious? I read. Where has the image gone? What image? I'm almost afraid too. Is that when you guys were trying to watch the Epstein victims? Because right when I was gonna, where do we leave off? I'm so sorry. My internet just clicked out. I mean, you want to watch the Epstein victims? Are you serious? I don't know if I can find it. All right, let me find it. YouTube be tripping, but all right. If y'all want me to play that video that was gonna come up, I got you. But if my internet gives out, no, not that MU. No. Yeah.
Yeah, it cut out. It's back.
Okay, you guys, I had to find the video. Sorry. Okay, let me see if I have it. Hey. Okay, I think I'm gonna stay on the screen with you guys and watch it this time. I'm not gonna disappear on you, so hopefully I can do this. It's not that good. Okay. Can you guys see me? Let me know if I start echoing and then I'll go on mute, but let me play this for you.
Systematically
This is what you guys want,
recruited,
right?
trafficked across this great nation.
We were groomed, we were manipulated, and we were taken advantage of. We will not stop.
My internet's
with
glitching.
the current administration's reaction to the Epstein case.
There you go.
No one is satisfied.
History is watching, and so are the women who will come after us. We matter now. We are here today, and we are speaking, and we are not going to stop speaking.
I'm Lindsay Davis here on Capitol Hill, where today Jeffrey Epstein accusers and survivors talk very publicly about their very private stories. We are here to talk to them and hear what they'd like to see happen now.
To those in power, hear us clearly. Do your job.
Survivors, asking lawmakers to unseal files related to the federal investigation into Epstein, a convicted sex offender who died in jail in 2019.
Epstein was not just a serial predator. He was an international human trafficker.
Standing shoulder to shoulder in solidarity with a simple goal of justice and the truth exposed.
Transparency is justice. Release the files, end the secrecy, and stand with us in declaring that no one, no billionaires, no politicians, not world leaders, is above the law.
You guys think they'll get their justice, or what do you think?
From Florida to New Mexico to New York City, even the UK, these brave women say they were exploited by Epstein all over the globe. But their unifying mission brings them together here in the nation's capital with a group of lawmakers.
We're here not as partisans, we're here as patriots. I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C.
Chad, I don't
Marina
know.
Lacerda is one of Jeffrey Epstein's accusers. She was listed as minor victim number 1 in the 2019 Epstein indictment.
It's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. Today, I stand here with the women who have really helped me to find the strength to come out and come forward to share my story for the very first time.
She has never been publicly identified and never spoken publicly until now. Let's go back, and forgive me because I'm going to try to ask you some of these things from the past that you may not remember. But let's just start with your childhood. I know you were born in Brazil, then you moved to Astoria.
Yes.
And what was your upbringing like?
In Brazil, it was great. I really had a great experience from 1 until 8. I came to New York when I was 9 years old. My mother came before me. I stayed in Brazil for a year or so. I later on came. But when I came, my mother had met my stepfather at the time. And I would say, I don't know, 2-3 months after that, I started to get sexually abused by my stepfather. From 8 till 13 or 12, it really sucked my life. Like I really hated that time.
And on top of that, there were financial constraints.
After my stepfather left and got arrested, and my mom couldn't get a job or whatever the case was, so I started working. And I think that's what kind of led me to Jeffrey Epstein. You know, a girl saw me that, you know, I was struggling and I needed to make meets ends. And she was like, hey, like, I have a gig for you.
What did she say the gig was?
She had said that, you know, I was going to massage somebody. But I wasn't expecting what led on to that day.
And how old are you?
At
the time?
I just turned 14.
After you went the first time, you give the massage. Who gives you $300?
The first time, the girl did. He handed it to her, and she gave it to me. I went there a couple more times with her, but then I decided I went on my own because he asked me to come by myself.
He would call you directly?
He would have one of his secretaries do it. So he would see me, I'd say 2-3 times a week in the beginning, you know, because when he has somebody new in his life, he likes to see them a lot. So I went there a whole bunch of times, and, you know, it led to, unfortunately, he forced me to have sex with him, basically. I really had no choice.
You would describe it as rape.
You know, it's weird because it wasn't like he raped me, but he like...
But you were 14.
I didn't go in there thinking that it was going to end up like this. He was a brain surgeon, and he had connections with, you know, Victoria's Secret. So I thought that if I just played along, that I wouldn't be this immigrant from Brazil, you know, and that I would have something to look forward to, you know.
Over time, how much money would you say you got from Jeffrey Epstein?
I don't know, but I definitely, you know, I used to see him 2-3 times a week. You know, that's almost $900, $1,000, right?
Did he ever ask you to bring your friends or recruit?
He did, eventually. He did. He definitely didn't want anybody older than 18. 17 was really a cutoff line for him.
In 2008, about 1 year after she last saw Epstein, Marina was approached by the FBI about their case on Epstein and spoke to a lawyer that she says Epstein provided.
I went to his office. When I got there, I was like, should I say the truth? Like, should I be honest? He was like, you need to be very honest. You need to be very honest about everything. You need to speak the truth. So how am I going to speak the truth if Jeffrey hired this lawyer for me and he's the abuser of many women, right? So I did speak the truth because he told me to. And I left and he's like, we'll be in touch. I don't remember him calling. I just remember it going away. Just like it never happened.
Nothing ever happened.
Nothing. I really thought he was going to be scared and stop because I got subpoenaed and he almost went to jail.
When did you realize that your testimony was so critical, leading ultimately to Epstein's arrest?
It didn't hit me until yesterday.
It took years after Marina Lacerda's initial contact with the FBI for Epstein to be arrested.
When did you realize that your testimony was so critical, leading ultimately to Epstein's arrest?
I think recently, you know, I didn't know that, you know, I just found out that I was victim number one. I had no idea, to be honest with you. You know, a lot of the things I think that were supposed to be protected, you know, in 2007, 2008, it didn't happen with the FBI. So I think my name just got thrown around everywhere and I didn't know that. So I didn't find out until now and I'm still trying to process that, to be honest with you.
You and I were discussing earlier, you have a young daughter. Have you shared any of your story with her?
I had to tell her because I'm out here speaking and I ran away from it in 2008. I ran away from it in 2019. There's nothing in life that stays under the sun. It always comes out to light. So I did tell her, and that was tough. But she's so little and so naive. She's like, you know, she's like, Mom, you're such a badass. I'm sorry, give me a minute.
Oh, sure. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think we are all done.
In 2019, Epstein was charged with trafficking and abusing underage girls. Those girls, now women, are coming forward and sharing their stories.
Jonalisa Jones, Shantae Davies, Courtney Wild, Anushka DeGiorgio, Lisa Phillips,
Haley Robson,
Marina Lacerda.
If you all each had one word or a sentence, how would you describe Jeffrey Epstein?
a master manipulator,
a charismatic monster.
It's hard with one word because to become a master manipulator, you have to be lots of things to lots of people, and you have to be that person who's all things to all people. And he was very charismatic. He could be very charming. He could be very cruel. He could be whatever the situation called for. And that's why it was so terrifying, because he seemed to be all powerful.
Years after his death, Epstein's alleged crimes have continued to be the subject of intense bipartisan scrutiny. especially now as the Trump administration finds itself in the midst of a firestorm over its decision not to release any additional investigative files on Epstein, after initially promising to produce a so-called client list of people connected to Epstein who may have participated in illegal acts. Right after you all finished that press conference that you had on the steps of the Capitol, in the Oval Office, Donald Trump was asked about his reaction. The president said, "This is a Democrat hoax that never ends, trying to get people to talk about something that is totally irrelevant to the success of our country." Just want to get your reaction to that.
I am a Republican. I voted for you. Don't do that. Party affiliation should never matter. The whole purpose of me pointing out that I was a Republican is because I knew exactly what this would bring. I knew exactly the digs and, oh, well, you know, they must be Democrat. They must be on this side. This is not a political war. This is about young women that were molested and abused and then lied to, gaslit, and had their trauma weaponized on them for political gain. I will be more than happy to meet him halfway. I will come to him if he needs me to. I would love to sit down so he can look me in my face and tell me that I'm a hoax. This is very real. All these women and these people have sacrificed an incredible amount of time, energy, and patience, and our patients are wearing thin.
By show of hands, who's satisfied at this point, up to this day, with the current administration's reaction to the Epstein case? No one is satisfied. What would bring about satisfaction?
Pass this bill. Transparency, full transparency.
Lisa, let's talk about your encounters with Epstein. Can you share about his grip that you described Epstein having on the modeling industry?
After I was abused on the island, I didn't speak to him for months and months, and his secretaries called me every day. But he was like, "Oh, I've got you. You know, I'm great friends with this, you know, owner of the big agency that everybody wanted to be with at that time." Then I was going out to these parties and charity events and involved in his world. But he never let me forget that he helped me out. So it wasn't until 4 years later I was basically able to escape and move from New York to Los Angeles to get away.
You've talked about how it was layered to a point where you almost didn't think of it as abuse.
I was so confused over it for many years because back then people looked at him like, I mean, he was mysterious. He wasn't a playboy and out there, but everyone looked at him with respect. And so it wasn't until he passed away and the survivors started speaking out where I realized that some of the men he had sent me to, which I thought were just business relationships, many other women were sent to the same man. I was going through a lot of turmoil over it and then trying to suppress it. So a lot of this has come about for me in the last few years.
Epstein is estimated to have abused a large number of girls. The Epstein Victims Compensation Fund paid out more than $120 million to 136 survivors. Another 52 women filed and privately settled claims.
We see 7 survivors here today. Brad or Brittany, can you give us a sense of how many young women you can say for sure are survivors of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would say we know the names, identities of over 300 safely, and that's probably half.
And 250 of those who one of us has personally spoken with to confirm they're in fact victims.
With regard to the interactions that you had with Ghislaine Maxwell, what has been your response to the DOJ going and talking with her, to her being put into a minimum security camp, and even in talks about, you know, potentially her being pardoned?
She has lied repeatedly since I've known her, and I knew Ghislaine Maxwell very, very well for many, many years. So I really think there are not many people out there who are taking what Ghislaine Maxwell says seriously. But it's now the responsibility, once again, of Congress to put in the action. She was 100% involved. She was complicit. She was enabling. She was enmeshed with Jeffrey Epstein. She would come up with ideas of how to please him so that she would have her needs met. And that often involved her participating in different schemes of abuse and coming up with the specific ideas of how to abuse us.
Yeah, I'll just kind of add to that it's especially scary for me because she's literally 2 hours from where I live now. And so I have had quite a few nightmares, if I'm honest, since she's been transferred. I guess my answer is that I still feel fearful of her, to be honest. I think she's a very I know she's a very calculated person, and I don't feel like she's going to be where she is very long. She's probably going to get out somehow.
Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years for sex trafficking, but has proclaimed her innocence, insisting she did not witness any inappropriate behavior by any of Epstein's powerful friends, and said a long rumored list of Epstein's high-profile clients does not exist. By show of hands, is there anybody who would support Ghislaine Maxwell getting out of prison?
Only if I'm there when she gets out. And we can show up collectively.
Lisa, just share with us what you've discussed today about the potential release of names.
Several of us Epstein survivors have been discussing creating our own list of names. Yes. We know the names.
I would like for them to put, can y'all hear me? I would like for them to put the names out. Since they have them, put them out. What's the holdup now?
Many of us were abused by them. Now, together as survivors, we will confidentially compile the names we all know were regularly in the Epstein world. And it will be done by survivors and for survivors.
Well, I was just saying, if they're not going to release it, then we're going to compile our own list. And just speaking to not just us survivors that have come forward, but many others that are silent, that have answers and are scared.
I think it's safe to say that any person who has been sexually abused, assaulted, harassed, quite often there's fear in coming forward and using your voice. Is there an added level of fear with regard to Epstein and some of the celebrity or well-known powerful people who are involved here?
Of course there is.
Absolutely. I'm probably more afraid of the people we don't know about.
Yeah.
The people you don't know about, the people who know that they may be on any kind of list that is.
People who are purposely trying to get that list to stay away or not be on that list. That's who scares me.
Because the more you speak out, the more
Turn your
harassed you
volume
get
down,
and stalked
girl.
online. And I mean, you've had people following you.
Oh, yeah.
How many of you have daughters?
Well,
and how? Yes, also?
Children.
Sons, okay. How has motherhood changed your outlook, your perspective on what you've endured, what you suffered through?
I'm overbearing.
Yeah,
I'm overbearing, controlling.
But I mean, I've been in like tug of war handoffs with her at her daycare when she was younger because I thought that there was just one man in the building, and just hearing that there was a man in the building, I literally had a panic attack and could not even hand her over to the school. And as far as like I'm a single parent, and my dating life, I don't think I'd ever be able to trust a man in the house with her ever.
I think it's also hard to family members, at least for me. I don't know about everybody. I don't, sad to say, sometimes, my daughter will be in the pool and one of the family members who's a male will get in, and I'm like, whoa, like he's flipping her, like this is not okay. So I think it also, not only, in the dating perspective, but also our family members, we're not able to trust them too.
When my daughter was born, I looked at her and I saw who I used to be. And suddenly that was my job. My job was to protect her. And part of protecting my child and all our children is to speak up. With every year she grows, I become more committed to this journey of teaching her boundaries, teaching her how to keep herself safe, empowering her with her voice, with her ability to speak up.
Would anybody say that they feel that they are at the point of being healed
Nobody can go
I haven't
through
even
what we went
begun.
through
Yeah.
and ever be over it. You don't get over it. You just learn healthier coping mechanisms that help you get through the triggers, that help you get through the depression, the sleepless nights, the nightmares. I'm 48 years old and my abuse started at the age of 17. So it's a long time. It's a long time to have this information and keep it secret because you're scared, and I was scared.
I thought that we were really getting somewhere in 2019. I really thought that we were about to take down everyone. We were on fire. We were on fire.
Can we just go by row, and we'll start with you, Lisa, with what justice would look like for you?
For me, it's just accountability. I'm just in shock still that there isn't any accountability. The names that I know and many of us know haven't been announced.
I'm looking for transparency. I'm looking for this bill to be passed.
I think signing the bill is mandatory to start our healing process.
Yeah, I would kind of echo what they've said also is transparency and not having to live my life immersed in this trauma every single day.
I mean, the four of them have already said it so perfect. It is accountability. We need accountability and transparency. Understand that we're humans and we shouldn't have even had to have done this.
I agree with everyone. You know, I think the big thing here is transparency and healing and passing the bill. Those are three main things.
We keep helping and we keep using our voice. And that to me is enough. Just to have another woman say, I found strength within you to come out for myself. That is justice. And when we're done with this, there is going to be a totally new generation of women that are not to be played with.
Thank you all so much. I know this is not easy, and we're just so grateful that you trusted us with your stories. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's a lot. That's a lot. I don't know if you guys can handle more. But what? What is that showing? Okay. I think that again, it's a lot. It's heartbreaking. I found one that I kind of want to show you guys, but again, it's a lot. Yeah, I don't know. Can y'all hear me okay? Where Epstein was talking and they was showing the girls, of course it's censored, going out for like trying to be models and thinking they're gonna have these careers, only to get stuck in this whole thing with Epstein and realizing they really couldn't get away. That was deep. Yeah, Sebastian, it was deep. Where were they all these years? Well, a lot of them feared for their lives, and we've seen some that spoke, and now they're no longer with us. So a lot of them were afraid. They were afraid for their families. Some of them were, they were here from other countries. There's a lot. There's a lot. As many victims, there were more volunteers. I can't call people underage volunteers. I just can't. Maybe the family members could have been more involved, but I'm not going to call anybody volunteers that was underage, you guys. Let's be for real. Okay. They're all in trauma. They're traumatized. It's 236. Let me see if I can find this for you. She just said that they liked girls underage. I mean, I could do this one. They liked the young ones. I probably won't be able to find this without leaving my stream. Let me try. Okay, I don't know if you guys can still hear me because I'm not on camera. But I want to find something for you. I don't know. Let's see if my internet will let me be great today. If I can find it. But it's dark, and that's why I really didn't want to go down this. Oh no, I'm in the wrong area. Hold on. We probably won't get through this one, but I'll show you anyways. Hold on. It's kind of... You won't like it. Let's see if I can find it. I'm telling you, won't like this video if I do find it. Oh, here it is. All right. Okay, let me bring you guys in so you can see what I'm looking at. Get myself there. You guys can still hear me. Share screen. Share my screen. All right, you guys, I'm gonna stay on the screen with you this time, especially because I don't know if we're gonna get through it. But here we go. Have you guys, did I show you guys this one? I don't think I did.
Videos of girls dancing in a Manhattan townhouse, model castings, pornography of all kinds. These are just a few of the more than 2,000 videos released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Plus, there are interviews where Epstein calls himself a tier 1 sexual
Can you see it or no?
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
We dug through hours of footage to find some of the creepiest but most telling clips. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, quick 180 before we jump into this. I know I talk about sponsors, but when I'm passionate about one, how can I not talk about it? Proof wallets, okay? I started hearing people saying, oh, this is the best wallet I've ever had. All that hype is real. First of all, you know what I love? Proof Wallets, it is a veteran-owned company, and it's built by craftsmen. I'll throw in the unfortunately. There are tapes in the Epstein Files release that we got to talk about. We are referring to more than 2,000 videos with hours of footage, all a part of the Department of Justice's release of materials through the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And this includes the tapes of Jeffrey Epstein himself, which are particularly strange because we never really hear this guy speak before, let alone in this way. And remember, he's the man at the center of all this, and we'll get to that. But I do want to preface this by saying that much of the footage is redacted, and we don't know the ages or the identities of the women and the girls that have been covered by black boxes. So I'll be just calling them females since, again, we don't know how old they are. Now, I do want to talk about arguably some of the most uncomfortable clips first, okay?
Sebastian,
some of the footage included in the release is pretty innocuous. Someone playing with a small dog, what looks like a promotional piece for Little St. James Island, often called Epstein's Island, which he owned. Now, I say innocuous, we know what was happening on that island was allegedly not innocent. Multiple victims have come forward to say that they were assaulted and abused on that island. That island is also the centerpiece for many potential scandals, with people questioning whether some of the world's wealthiest and most powerful people visited it. If there's a claim that you visited that island, it's as toxic as it gets. Now, some of the clips, although they're redacted, obviously pornography sites. It's unclear how many of the clips were from legitimate online porn sites and how many were created by Epstein's victims at his behest, but several of the porn videos have website watermarks at the bottom referencing teens, unfortunately, but other videos are just strange. For example, you got this selfie video of Epstein making weird and unsettling faces into the camera. There's another that shows him standing up on a countertop in a large kitchen and then getting down and literally chasing a female around the room. Again, I don't know how old this person is. There's also footage of him dancing with someone in what appears to be a hallway. You know what? Actually, there are lots of dancing videos, with several apparently filmed in Epstein's office at his home in New York City. And I just got to say this, how creepy is this one? In one of the videos, you can clearly see a paternity test. This kid.
Thank you, Carol, for being a member. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support.
Sitting on Epstein's desk. Some of the footage is especially unsettling because while we don't know the age of the females in the video, there are also stuffed animals visible in the frame. For example, this selfie video of someone holding a Cookie Monster doll, and another, which we can assume based on the context contains pornographic material, shows a teddy bear in the background. And there's even a video of someone playing with a young child, handing them various toys and stuffed animals. We don't know who this child is, where this video was taken, the connection to Epstein, but obviously really concerning. And remember, before he died, he was facing federal sex trafficking of minors charges. There's also around 14 hours of footage in all, and much of it is made up of short snippets of video. There's almost zero context provided for where the videos came from, who they show, why Epstein might have kept them, whether or not they were going to be pivotal in his criminal trial. I'll tell you this, there's a clip of someone filming a woman receiving a massage, and pretty disturbing when you consider that Epstein and his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, they were accused of luring teen girls to his home with the promise of money in exchange for a massage. That was the grooming tactic, right? That's what led to the abuse. That's what led to the escalation. There's footage of someone taking a bubble bath. There's dozens of videos apparently sent from women and girls to Epstein showing them in various states of undress. And there are videos that are apparently sent to Epstein or his staff.
Getting all the flavors of all the jellies. We already got 4 bags, but she thought it wouldn't be enough, so she's getting some more. She's very serious about it. How many jelly beans did we get? A lot. And then it's just a little part of what we've got.
And it seems glaringly obvious in some of the files that these females are pretty young. In another creepy section of the files, we can see a kind of grainy black and white image of an office, which appears to have been taken from a security camera of some kind. And you know, there have been a lot of differing information about surveillance in Epstein's homes. You have photos that were taken inside his Manhattan townhouse by law enforcement after his 2019 arrest that show at least 2 cameras near the ceiling. So one in a bedroom and one in a hallway, as well as some sort of base of operations. And there's a sign on the door that says 24-hour video surveillance. Now, the thing about that is, in these files, in this Epstein release, there was a 2014 email sent by Epstein that says, "Let's get 3 motion-detected hidden cameras that record. Thanks." And there's long been speculation that Epstein was filming basically everything all the time in order to use the videos to blackmail the world's elite. That was a common allegation, a common theory. But in an email included in the files, there was an agent who sent the following to then FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino, and it says, quote, "During the searches of Epstein's New York residence and USVI residence in 2019, the FBI searched for videos and surveillance cameras. My understanding from the case agent is that there were no cameras found inside any bedrooms or living areas of either residence. I understand that surveillance cameras were located near the entrances of the residences." So if that's true, okay, that's strange, but also, did something change? I don't know. You know, is it always the case that there wasn't something there, or why they couldn't find it? I don't know. It's just interesting to say the least. But next, I mentioned hearing from Epstein himself, right? So a big part of this is a long interview that was conducted by Steve Bannon, former White House chief strategist. And according to the files, there was this idea, seemingly, to try to rehabilitate Epstein's image by producing a documentary about him. It's unclear why Bannon would have wanted to do this. But remember, this is after Epstein pleaded guilty to Florida state charges of solicitation of prostitution of a minor. And I mean, the files, they show a lot of communication between the two, texts, emails, several photos of the two of them together, really looking at that 2018, 2019 timeframe. I mean, I'll give you an idea. Epstein said in one message to Bannon, "I don't like texting," to which Bannon replied, "Got it." February 2019, before Epstein was federally indicted, Epstein wrote to Bannon, "Do you think I can do my own video interview and upload it on YouTube?" Woody said he would help edit, not sure how to stage, what points to make, but better than trying to do an interview that I have no experience doing. Goal to humanize the monster. I will note here, it's believed he's talking about Woody Allen, and the text that Epstein sent to Bannon just before this exchange reads, "Dinner with Woody or too many pedos in one place?" Yikes, to say the least. And Bannon, by the way, also laid out this plan. Quote, "First, we need to push back on the lie. Then crush the pedo trafficking narrative, then rebuild your image as philanthropist." To be clear, Bannon hasn't been accused of a crime. He's been very vocal about wanting the files to be made public. And even though the documentary was never produced, we have this footage, okay? You get this footage where Bannon is interviewing Epstein. It kind of gives you a window into this guy that you never saw before because, again, we don't really have that much of him even speaking. But take a look.
How did a schmuck like you
get on the board of Rockefeller? What year was that?
I don't remember. I think 89 and 91.
So that's one of the most prestigious research places in the world, correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you guys couldn't hear me. Listen with caution. It's hard to listen to. Are you guys familiar with Woody Allen and what happened with his daughter and all of this? It's not surprising he's in here, but it's hard to listen to.
Okay, how did a guy like you get on the board of a blue blood, internationally known, hard research, Nobel Prize winners all over the place? How do they pick a guy like you, a trader from, or basically some guy from Bear Stearns?
Good question. So I was asked to be on the board of Rockefeller.
Yeah, the interview primarily focuses on Epstein's reputation as this apparent financial genius, someone who was practically clairvoyant when it came to markets around the world. And to give you kind of context here, when Epstein was arrested for soliciting a minor for prostitution out in Palm Beach in Florida, this is, again, he made that deal in 2008. The United States was dealing with a huge financial crisis at the time, remember? And so when Bannon asked Epstein about his knowledge of what was happening behind the scenes at some of the country's largest investment firms, Epstein also talked about his time behind bars.
How did you hear about what was going to happen to Lehman Brothers, and what did you immediately think when you heard they was going to be put into bankruptcy?
I'm glad you asked that question. I was in solitary confinement September 14th. And again, some of the public stories about the wonderful time I had in jail and my work release, which didn't come till months after. I'd been there since June in an 8x10 cell with a bed in the back, a 6-foot bed in the back, a chrome sink with a toilet attached to it, and a little piece of metal sticking out that was supposed to act as a table. Now, since I was in jail, there were no books. Why? There's no library. No library, but you're in jail. No, I was in jail, not prison. So in jail, I was in a place what's called the Special Housing Unit, which is for the roughest, toughest, meanest people. They had put me there, they said, for my own protection. So I was in an 8x10 cell with a little slit in the door where they would serve my food on a tray about 9 inches by 4 inches. And then as soon as I finished eating, they'd take the tray and close it down. And one of the guards said, do you understand there's Wall Street's crashing. I'm worried about my pension fund. What should I do? And I said, sorry, Wall Street's crashing, what's happened? And he said, there's some crisis and some companies are going bankrupt. I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah, it's all over the papers. We're all terrified we're gonna lose our life savings because we have either a 401k or our pension funds. We don't know anything about money. Mr. Epstein, can you tell us, like, what's going on? Am I gonna be able to afford my children's education? Am I gonna be bankrupt like this company called Lehman Brothers? And there's another company in the front page today called Bear Stearns. Oh no, I said. Why? Because that's the company I was a partner in. And in fact, that was a company I had a very large investment in. So, as a great story, I didn't have my Wall Street Journal, but in the early mornings, you're allowed to make 2 phone calls, collect. And when you pick up the phone, you can dial a number, and when the person picks up, they say, you're getting a call from the Palm Beach County Jail. Will you accept reverse charges? And the person either says yes, and the call goes through, or the person says no. The person I had called was Jimmy Kane, the president of Bear Stearns. And I said, tell me what's going on. And so that my knowledge of the financial crisis happened with Jimmy, who was at the center of the storm, telling me about what Lehman had gone under. And they were trying to figure out a way, should they bail out Bear Stearns? The question you want to ask is, who was the other call to?
Okay, who was the other call to?
The other call was to my friend at JP Morgan, who was then, I didn't know at the time, trying to buy Bear Stearns. So at one point, I had 2 phones. It was difficult because they're afraid people are going to hang themselves with the phone cord. So they don't actually come together and they're pretty short. So I was actually going between two phones talking to Bear Stearns and JP Morgan at the same time. So I found it amusing.
And it never struck you about how to end up in a situation like this?
No, that would be probably means I would be too self-aware.
You can't possibly expect me to believe this.
I know. I don't believe it.
You're telling me that and during that day, you never had a moment. You sat there and go, what the have I done with my life? I'm in a 6x9 jail cell when I should be on a trading desk, or I should be in my $250 million, greatest townhouse in New York City, taking calls from the king of Saudi Arabia, the president of China, the head of Russia, the president of the United States, to save the world's population from a financial debacle. You honestly expect me to believe that that never happened?
You're suggesting I was somewhat depressed, and how could this happen to me?
I'm not saying depressed. I'm saying a moment of awareness of how could I get myself into this situation?
No, I would just say how strange that this happens. It's strange. I'm wearing a jumpsuit and flip-flops.
What color was the jumpsuit?
Brown. Brown.
Brown jumpsuit.
Yes.
I notice I don't see you in a lot of brown.
No.
Brown jumpsuit and flip-flops.
Flip-flops, yes.
With no access to books, no access to newspapers,
no access to anything.
You had lived on information.
Except my Almond Joy bars. I had extra Almond Joy bars.
Did you eat Almond Joy bars and things like that because you're afraid of what the cooks did to your food?
Yes.
Is that because of that you were in for the crimes that you were in for?
No, it was just in fact, I was.
Is it because you're wealthy?
Yes.
How did you know that?
Well, people would constantly come if I was passing by. I would have to go for my medical. People would either ask to borrow money or make some other types of comments about.
In the beginning, what were the comments? At the beginning, what were the comments?
It serves you rich guys right that you're here next to me.
There was nothing about your crimes.
No.
So all this rumor you hear all the time about people in prison that commit the type of crimes you commit, you're saying in your personal thing is not true.
No.
It was all because you were rich.
Yes.
And it was all because they wanted to borrow money.
Or get advice. Yes.
Where they get advice to go long.
Yes.
You're telling me
is this time to buy?
You're telling me in solitary confinement they're interested in going long.
Yeah. They want to know
what does that say about human nature?
Well, what I think the people find, one of the reasons they wanted to keep me in solitary confinement was they're afraid that everybody would want to know which stocks to buy.
Yeah, that's right. Epstein claims that those guards were asking him for financial advice. Now, at one point during the interview, Epstein apparently took a break to freshen up his wardrobe.
When did you first start to get nervous, understanding Bill Clinton and all this? Did you change glasses?
Yes.
Okay.
I changed shirt.
I saw the black. Are you okay with it? Yeah, great. I think we're gonna have all kinds of changes.
I'm experimenting.
Yeah. Okay. When did you get a feeling? Did you ever anticipate before it happened something like 2008 could happen?
No.
Bannon keeps coming back to the fact that Epstein, for all of his apparent knowledge of how the world works, he ended up in prison. Although I will say that his attorneys worked out what's been called that sweetheart deal with the then U.S. attorney in Miami, Alexander Acosta, which ended with Epstein avoiding serious federal charges, getting kind of a light sentence for the state charges. And throughout the interview, Bannon seems to kind of needle Epstein, referring to things like the Me Too movement and asking at one point, this was big, whether Epstein is the devil himself.
When you say ownership in the system, it doesn't mean.
Let's start over.
Okay.
So flip over your phone too, because
yes.
I don't want anyone to see
yeah.
So maybe flip it down or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows what the comes over that.
That's correct.
Which one has sent you?
KSA.
I can't not believe I've got the magic moment when you're in prison or jail, wherever the is.
It's crazy.
Solitary.
Now, there's a funny part of that we missed, which is said.
Go ahead, tell it.
The funny part is just what you asked me.
Is there anything funnier than that?
No.
For black humor, it's.
I don't make any black comments. Sorry. You asked me what I was wearing.
That's right. You're too wrapped up in the Me Too movement.
Yes.
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact.
Why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it.
I do believe it's dirty money. He is so pleased with himself. I don't believe that he took his life. He comes across as very narcissistic, and narcissists don't take their lives. I have a hard time believing that.
A heart thing.
But you earned it.
I earned it legally.
We went back to this. You earned
Yes.
it. You earned it advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
You think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no question. Because I think about, ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
If we walked in, you're a mathematician. If we walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness, and told them that the money was coming from class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
What's tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm the lowest. I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them, if I told them the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
It's a serious question.
Sorry.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
I don't know. Why would you say that?
Because you have all the attributes. You're incredibly smart. You remember the devil is somebody knows.
Smart?
The devil's brilliant. You read Milton's Paradise Lost.
No, the devil scares me.
Satan is at the number 1 or 2 archangel, and the reason he goes to hell and leads the rebellion is because he can't be the top guy. And his thing is, I'd rather reign in hell than serve in heaven.
I saw that in a movie once called American Dharma. I don't remember who said it. Okay, we have to go.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That was good.
Now, there's one more thing that I want to talk about before we wrap things up here. And included in the release were portions of a Ghislaine Maxwell deposition, as well as footage of apparent victims being interviewed by Palm Beach police detectives back in the early 2000s. Now, it's unclear if these clips were in Epstein's possession for some reason, or if they were just connected to the investigation, were they investigatory materials that the DOJ had. So, it's unclear. And by the way, it's also unclear why only parts of Maxwell's deposition were released. And by the way, that was a deposition that she did with regards to a lawsuit that renowned Epstein accuser, Maxwell accuser, Virginia Giuffre had filed. So that's why you see this deposition in 2016. Now, back to those police interviews. We actually talked about these interviews here on Sidebar before. We did an episode on it. This is when multiple alleged victims told investigators about the promise of money if they came to Epstein's sprawling home, gave him a massage. Take a listen.
She told me about this guy I was short on rent 1 month, and she told me that all I had to do was give him a massage and he would give me $200. And that's pretty much it. And I thought about it. I was like, I really need the money. I'd asked my parents. They can't give me the money. I asked everyone I knew. And I went there with her. I gave her a massage, and it was a weird situation.
Have you had any formal massage training?
No.
Did you provide the massage with clothing on?
All I had was underwear on.
Okay. Did she tell you that you would have to provide the massage with just underwear?
No.
Did anything else happen?
I'm sorry, I don't like thinking back on it, so.
Okay, first of all, I know this is hard on you,
Mm-hmm.
okay? I know that you put this behind you.
Yeah.
A lot of people that I've talked to have,
Mm-hmm.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only person that he's done this to.
Okay. And he just got up and walked out. He's like, okay, you can put your clothes on, and he closed the door.
And you were paid how much?
$200. he asked me for my phone number just in case he wanted to call me and come back. And they called me, and I never called them back.
But in stark contrast, when Ghislaine Maxwell was deposed in April 2016 pursuant to this lawsuit, she kind of like feigned surprise that any such accusations were being made.
Can you list for me all the girls that you have met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's house that were under the age of 18?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
I could only recall my family members that were there, and I could not make a list of anyone else because that list never happened. But I can think of.
I'm talking about during the time that you were working for Jeffrey Epstein.
Right.
Can you list all the girls that you found for Jeffrey Epstein that were under the age of 18 to come work for him in any capacity?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
So I didn't find girls. I didn't
You
look
have
for
them,
girls.
you choose the word.
Well, no, you don't choose the word. If you have a question, ask it.
List all of the girls that you met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's home for the purposes of employment that were under the age of 18.
Check the Foreman Foundation.
I've already characterized what my job was, which was to find people, adults, professional people, to do the types of jobs that I listed before. Pool person, secretary, house person, chef, pilot,
But I'm asking about individuals under the age of 18, not adult persons, individuals under the age of 18.
I only hired and looked for people, tried to find people to fill professional jobs in professional situations.
Under the age of 18, correct?
Yeah, but I think we've established was 17 and
Is
a
she the
masseuse.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Is she the only individual that you met for purposes of hiring someone for Jeffrey that was under the age of 18?
Check the Foreman Foundation. This characterizes their testimony.
So I didn't hire people. I met people.
Use the word hire.
Yes, you did.
I said met.
Yes. So I interviewed people for jobs that were professional people for professional things, and I'm not aware of anyone aside from who really was a masseuse aged 17. But that's, you know, at least that's how far we know that I can think of that fulfilled any professional capacity for Jeffrey.
List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties.
I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with. Other than not any idea exactly of the youngest adult employee that I hired for Jeffrey.
When you say adult employee, did you ever hire someone that was under the age of 18 or invite someone who was under the age of 18 to his home, any of his homes?
Subject to the Foreman Foundation.
You can answer.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Did you ever invite anybody under the age of 18 to Jeffrey's home?
Same objection.
I have a number of friends that have children, and friends of mine who have kids, and in the invitation of my friends and their kids, I'm sure that I will have invited some of my friends' kids to come, if that's what you're referring to.
No, anybody that is not a friend of yours, any female under the age of 18, did you invite them to come to Jeffrey's home?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
Again, as I said, I'm not aware of having invited anybody other than friends of mine who have children to the house.
Did you invite to come to Jeffrey Epstein's home when she was under the age of 18?
Ms. Maxwell, when did you?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
You can answer.
I have no idea when I met her.
Do you know how old she was when you met her?
I have no idea how old she was when I met her.
Is it possible that she was 13 years old when you first met her?
Check the Foreman Foundation.
First of all, the mother was Jeffrey's friend, and his mother was Jeffrey's friend. So may have been in the house. When she was in the house, I had no idea how old she was. She was with her mother.
I understand that she was with her mother. I'm asking you, she was 13 years old when you first met her.
I have no idea how old she was when.
Was she under 18 when you first met her?
I have no idea how old she was when she was in the house.
Who were the other 17-year-old masseuses they were aware of?
I'm not aware of any.
Were there any 16-year-old masseuses you were aware of?
I'm not aware.
Any 15?
Look, I just want to be clear. The only person that I'm aware of who claims to have been, and we have to, whilst I've established that now is 17, given that she has changed her age so many times, the only person that I'm aware of that was a masseuse at the time when I was present in the house.
Maxwell, of course, would go to trial and be convicted of sex trafficking and sentenced to 20 years in prison. So there you go. Some videos to keep in mind as we're still trying to process everything that is coming out of this Epstein Files release. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar.
There's so much more that I would like to show you, but we're going to stop there. There's a lot with this trial. Carol, thank you for being a member. Let me tell you something, Carol. I agree with you 100%. I agree with you. Number one, he's gone. I don't do conspiracies. Epstein's gone. We know that. And he didn't take his life, in my opinion. Narcissists don't do that. He was a horrible person. He hurt a lot of people. And I don't believe that we'll ever get, thank you, welcome, John Smith, we'll never get the full extent of what happened. Trump isn't able to unredact. Why are you guys obsessed with Trump? Let me stay focused. We'll never get the full extent of what happened. Maxwell knows a lot. Now, she's claiming to talk. She said she's going to talk maybe for a lighter sentence. And if she does, I'll be here to report on it. I'm praying for justice for the victims. Maxwell cannot profit off of a book. I saw that comment in the United States. You can't profit off of a crime that you've committed here. So there's a lot that's going on. Now, with the names that's been put out there, there's not really much context. And there's nowhere in those files where Trump has been accused of doing anything wrong. Because just being on Epstein Island, just being in these files does not mean that you did anything wrong. But for the ones that did commit crimes against these now women, those women deserve justice. And those men that did it were in very powerful positions. So you can't blame the victims at all. At all, okay? Kaiser says the more information coming out, the more troubling it gets. Also, things not quite adding up. Things aren't adding up. Okay, you guys, so I gotta lay it down. I'll be back later, and I will put more out there. I will put more out there. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. You guys hung in there for a while. I know it was dark. Commentary. Give the profit from the book to the victims. Anthem, agreed. Give it to the victims. Grand Rising, misunderstood in chat. Hey, Nene Loyal. The judge said Trump was. Nobody said that. Eric, just stop, Eric. We don't want to hear that. Nobody said that, Eric. Don't put fake news out there. No judge said that. Let me go ahead and remove your comment. So I prefer to stay focused. And for those of you blaming the victims, shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. Those girls were very young. You've heard it from Epstein. Epstein himself, he didn't deny being a predator. Maxwell didn't deny not doing something wrong. So you guys are kind of just, no, those girls were young. Those men were wealthy. Bill Gates was interesting. They were wealthy. Will you repost again? I was with my wife. I want my wife to hear this. I'll leave this video up as long as I can. Trump was never on Epstein Island. Oh, what's that? All right, I love you guys. I'm gonna lay it down. Wait a minute. What'd you say? Am I crazy? If you're on that, you know you're. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm gonna lay it down. Thank you, Detour. I have to do some homework. There's a lot of these files for me to go through. There's a lot of these emails for me to go through, and I try to find videos that's gonna wrap it up and tell the story, so you don't have to go through all this stuff with me. Okay? I'll put it out there. Thank you. Good night, Lorenzo. All right, you guys. I'll talk to you later. Carol, big hugs. Detour, Mods, Doc, and Claude. Thank you guys for holding me down. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.